Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now.
Welcome, everybody, to the Dallas Cowboys Game Time Tournament featuring Fortnite. I'm one of your casters today, Jacob PR, but joined with me is going to be the best Taco. How are you doing today?
Feeling awesome, Jacob, knowing that we're about to get into all the action that's involved with the finals here of the Dallas Cowboys Game Time Tournament. I mean, could we ask for anything better?
No, I don't think we can. We're going to be in for a treat today, but let's take a look at how we got here. Let's take a look at the rules in which our players are going to be going under today. It is going to be solos. It is 0 builds, and it is 3 games with eliminations being worth 1 point. And you can see the placement: Victory Royale 15, second place, third, fourth, and fifth, all getting points as well. And you know as well as I do, it's all about being consistent throughout these 3 games.
Yeah, consistency definitely mattering even more so when you factor in that it is only those 3 games that our players will have to work with. But it's for good reason. Everybody wanted to make sure they keep those placements high because what's on the line, the prizing here, that grand prize, VIP draft party experience for 2, your flights are covered, and the hotel transportation. That is by far the most luxurious treatment that you could imagine. And again, it's all coming from our finalists that are competing here. What better way to spend a day, Jacob, than getting to see the ultimate behind-the-scenes preview at the Ford Center?
Yeah, I got to cast our last Dallas Cowboys game time event, and they got a trip to the Super Bowl. And now they get a trip, a VIP experience to the draft party. And my big question is, who is the winner going to take? I feel like some friendships are going to be ruined today.
Yeah, because again, the fact that it's a party for 2, it's awesome, but you got to really start to make some decisions here because since it is a solos format, you can only take one other person with you. So be really excited to see who our competitor actually chooses to go with them. But again, that's for a future problem for our grand finalists here today. But keeping things moving forward, also want to give a huge shout out to Lenovo for making this game time tournament possible alongside the Dallas Cowboys. And remember, Lenovo, it keeps all things smarter because Lenovo makes smarter technology for all.
Yep, and you guys want to make sure you guys go down to the Dallas Cowboys camp because register now for the 2024 Dallas Cowboys camp where all athletes skill level are going to be included, ages 6 to 16, to learn from the best. Our NFL camp is going to be trained by former NFL athletes. Our dance camp is going to be trained by current Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. And Taco, I love a deal. So make sure you guys register before May 17th to save $25. And make sure you guys go to dallascowboys.com/camp.
You planning on picking up any of those cheerleader moves, Jacob, anytime soon?
You know me. I like to get down. I like to get boogie with it. So I might have to go and sign up, but I might have to go my NFL skills. Maybe I can go and sign up for both camps at once. So make sure you guys get into the game today. But let's get into the action. Let's go ahead and start talking about our 4 keys to the game, Taco. There's going to be a lot of different players and a lot of different play styles dropping into this one lobby. So I want to go ahead and ask you, what are some of your keys here?
I think a lot of it's going to boil down to how well some of our players are actually able to situate themselves. And I know that this isn't FNCS by any means, but as far as today's tournament is concerned, Jacob, we all know how impactful forecast towers can be, even in the course of 0 builds. I think it's even more impactful because then players, they can look for the prime opportunity, get themselves into a nicely situated position, set up some porta bunkers maybe, and just look to go haywire on the rest of the lobby.
That's going to be big. Those porta bunkers have been a huge staple of 0 builds since they got introduced. But let's take a step back out of the game a little bit as well. I think being able to have that mental practice. This is a little bit of a different format than we've seen in our qualifiers. It's not just a straight up elimination race. Now you're going against the best of the best to qualify here. So I think maybe taking some time to realize and get ahead of those nerves, get ahead of the anxiousness is going to be a huge key here for our players because in the last Dallas Cowboys game time tournament, it literally came down to the wire, the final game, the final placement, and the final elimination to win it all. So I think we're going to be in for a treat today.
Well, I have to hope as much because the mental game is something that can definitely come pretty heavily into play, especially when you consider that it is only 3 games that our competitors have to work with. So I'm definitely along the same note as you, Jacob. I think also for players that don't necessarily get off to the hottest start in game 1, just remember, there's always that bounce back opportunity. You never know what can happen in the course of 3 games.
Yeah, especially like you said, those bounce back. You can have pop-off moments. You can figure out where players are positioned at to try to get the jump on them. And another big thing is those medallions. In 0 build, there's very, very limited slots. You need your weapons. You need your heals. You need your rotation. You mentioned the shockwaves, the grapple blades. But you need to be able to grab those medallions early if you want to save a lot of those shields. So then you can go ahead and use a Flowberry Fizz. You could use things that don't necessarily take you across that finish line, because I don't think any of these zero builds are going to go down to a heal off. So medkits might not be the play either.
No, I definitely wouldn't expect any heal loss, but on the talk of the medallions, I almost feel as though it could be a great aggressive opportunity, kind of like a double-edged sword, because sure, you can get some shield sustain, but if somebody decides that they want to try and hunt down all 5 medallions in the course of one game, that's definitely a much easier possibility in the duration of a zeros match, Jacob. So that's definitely something that players are going to have to keep in mind if they do manage to pick up one of those society medallions. Just how long can you actually hold on to it will be the next trick.
Yeah, and go ahead now. I answer the same question as well, but do you have a prioritization list when going after medallions, when going after those mythic weapons? I know what I would have my eyes on, but you're the best taco, and they call you the best for a reason. So what do you got for me?
It's always going to be all about Nisha. Fencing Fields, that Society Medallion, by far one of the most impactful, because if you get the Mythic Striker assault rifle that comes from that Fencing Fields POI out of Nisha, it's easily the best weapon, especially in zeros, man. You could just be frying the entire lobby before they even have a chance to get close. But if it's not the Fencing Fields Medallion, I would have to go with Oscar's Medallion over at Lavish Lair, because, again, the Mythic Frenzy Auto, another weapon that can really turn the table in kind of sticky situations for whoever is able to walk away with the Lavish Lair Mythic.
Yeah, I like that. I kind of switch up my orders. The 1 and 2, I would go for the Frenzy and then the Striker AR. But I think we kind of hit the nail on the head of which mythics to kind of go for. And I do think, I was looking at some of the drop maps, I do think we have at least 2 of our competitors, maybe even more, dropping over towards Lavish Lair. They want the Oscars Mythic Frenzy that you talked about yourself. I got to imagine Fencing Field being the same. So only time will tell once we jump into those games in just a few moments of seeing who's going to be able to kind of pull up their pants and really take it to their opponent in terms of being able to aggress onto them, get the weapons, push them off, and then eventually win the game.
Yeah, but I'm really just excited, too, to think about the fact that by the end of these 3 matches, Jacob, we will have our winner totally decided. And I would have to imagine that they're a pretty big Dallas Cowboys fan for wanting to compete in the first place, because I just can't imagine how excited I would be to actually receive this grand prizing of that total VIP draft party experience. But again, we'll just have to live vicariously through our competitors here today.
Yeah, you can kind of see it there again. You mentioned the draft party experience. Flights and hotel transportation is going to be included. That kind of leaves you a little bit of extra pocket change on the side to enjoy. Maybe you can go ahead and grab a nice burger when you're going ahead and experience that draft. You can go ahead and maybe your person that you're going taking with, maybe you buy them something extra, buy them something a treat. And that's why this is so incredible of an experience, because look at all the fans out there being able to enjoy something so special.
Right. And it's just so awesome, especially when you see the Dallas Cowboys coming together alongside Lenovo. And again, cannot say thank you enough to Lenovo, helping make smarter technology for all and just being able to provide such an awesome experience. And this is a really unique experience as well, because people are always saying all the time to gamers, right? Go touch grass for once. Well, what better way to get that done than by getting this VIP experience here at Ford Center?
Yeah, and then if you are, our last winner was an actual Dallas Cowboys fan, and he got to kind of experience what it's like to win a big event like this. So whether you're a Dallas Cowboys fan or another team in the NFL, being able to experience that draft party, the next up-and-coming players in the league, from whether it's the first of the draft pick, or maybe you get lucky and find a Tom Brady down the line in some of those later rounds. So that experience is going to be huge, and maybe whoever wins is a huge football fan, and they take somebody that they're trying to cross on over, bring them on over to the sports side with them. That's something that I think could be a life-changing moment for some of these competitors today.
I'm thinking also, how many Dallas Cowboys or players, I should say, that actually participate? Because I would expect at least 1 or 2, if not more, to dabble in some Fortnite themselves, Jacob. So who knows? Maybe our winner will get a lobby in with them. I'm throwing out the most obscene possibilities here, but it's all in the fun of the game, right?
Hey, yeah, we all dream for possibilities like that. Now imagine, instead of catching a touchdown from Dak Prescott, you're in the zone, 6 HP, and he throws a med kit, a long bomb, a Hail Mary to keep you alive. Now that is something that I think everybody, football fan or maybe just Fortnite fan, would love to really take advantage of. And kind of looking at some of the players here today, I got to look behind the scenes. Is there anybody you're looking at specifically to really showcase some skill here on the day?
Oh, hands down, Pfluger. He is my clear takeaway as a favorite. I've seen him participate, got to witness him in live action in other third-party events in regards to Fortnite, and he is definitely a very skilled player, has a lot of collegiate competitive experience as well, and I think that some of that definitely helps transition over into his Zeros gameplay experience.
Yeah, I think Pfluger was at the top of my list, particularly, he played in that Tim the Tapman Showdown Zero Builds, won one of the first early competitions for Zero Build, placing into the top 3. But I kind of have my eyes on 2 different competitors. I couldn't really pick one right out of the gate, but it's Hazy and Wicked. Both of them played in our last Dallas Cowboys event, and Hazy actually won the entire thing. I talked about a photo finish race. It came down to not only eliminating the guy that was in first place, but overall winning the entire thing. So I think him and Wicked are 2 players that actually specialize specifically in Zero Builds. They don't really do too much in builds overall. They play Zero Builds altogether. So I'm going to be looking at them, and I do believe one of the 2 is landing over towards Lavish Layers. So he's putting all his eggs in that early game basket while contested to try to get that mythic and try to get as much loot as he can to get himself the best start. But it is consistency over 3 games. So even though you might have a bad start or a bad middle game, you can still kind of pick it up in that third and final game of the day.
Yeah, but again, you mentioned these 2 competitors, right? So my only question at that point, Jacob, would be, was Pfluger also in that competition?
I don't recall, to be honest. I believe he was, actually. I believe Pfluger actually was in that competition.
That does change the scoreboard just a little bit. I mean, granted, we haven't gotten our opportunity just yet, but it does appear as though our first game has appeared. So we can dilly-dally all we want to, Jacob, and talk about the possibilities of, competitions that Pfluger has participated in and whatnot, but he's not our only competitor here today. Gonna kick things off over by Ritzy Riviera and talked about a little bit of that off-spawn contest. There is nothing better than a classic stare down, a surgical, more than aware of the fact that he's going to have company with him here at the Ritzy.
Yeah, and the interesting, they don't necessarily just split the POI. They kind of land on the same side. Yeah, they got a road that kind of crosses them, but this is exactly what happens. No real builds to protect himself. Overshield getting cracked, HP getting taken down low, and it's really up to his opponent that did all that damage. Does he have the loadout in which he feels confident to start to push over on the Surgical 8?
Surprised that Surgical actually opted to not utilize those slap barrels either. If anything, at least get the boost in energy, but seems as though Surgical a little bit more cautious, believing that there might have been somebody actually looking to aggress a little bit more heavily here at Ritzy, but Kirby, even though they were able to connect with some nice shots early on, a lot more content to just continue trying to loot things out here at Ritzy Rivera. Still a couple of chests left to be claimed. So we'll have to tap back in to see whether or not Surgical is actually able to put himself into a slightly better position. But he's been a heavily talked about man on the day here, Jacob. For good reason, we've both seen what this competitor is capable of. But Pfluger in a little bit of a split position here. Seems like he's aware of other competitors nearby. It's going to be Olos or Tango with first. Sniper not going to connect, but is going to be the warning shot, though. Olos is now on the lookout for, prepped, ready to enter the Underground Railroad. But Pfluger, EMP shield breaker, well placed.
Nice. Oh, wow. Olos for the win is absolutely factual. Nice job by Pfluger to try to throw the EMP shockwave, but unfortunately the overshield, it kind of just really took down overshield with a nice couple landed shots, but the action continues. He tries to exit the tunnel, and Tatlo is going to be there waiting on the other side. It almost seems like our competitors, even though you have a lot of space to work out and take a lot of either POIs or split drops here on a map like this, they're all converging at these mythic POIs just outside of fencing fields, one that you were targeting yourself if you were in this event.
100%, Jacob, but there is nothing worse than a short-lived victory. Have to feel for both Pfluger and Ols on that early departure here in Game 1, but as far as Tatlo is concerned, just going to try to keep the momentum going. I mean, that was one easy elimination, at least 1 point confirmed here for Tatlow. Now gonna just take this Jeep and instead opts to make sure that they can just farm out as much of the direct area. And it's all about the outskirts of Pleasant Piazza, which is kind of expected for players that find themselves from Ship It Station. Oh, he dead.
I was more surprised that kind of looking at the map and thankful our observers kind of throwing those ones up. I thought that player was rotating towards Snooty Steps. You saw the medallion still up. All those arrows over towards Snooty Steps, that's not a singular player. They're all NPCs guarding that. So Snooty Steps in game 1, uncontested to the fullest. So we'll see if anybody, if they go down early, can kind of check out those replays, see that it's literally still up to this day, that you can kind of grab it. Lavish Layer, same thing could be said there, but we do have a player positioned over towards Lavish Layer, hiding out, and that could be a thing as well. It could be just bait. You know, you see that medallion, you see it still up, maybe you think it's free and you got a player hiding around any one of these corners.
Definitely good to be wary as Miles, recognizing the fact this is just not an engagement they can afford to take right now. Gonna create some space here. As one benefit of getting to utilize the vehicles inside of Zeros can certainly make for some solid coverage and a fast escape, but Miles now just circling the outskirts of Ritzy Riviera. Decent chance that Miles could find themselves caught up in another engagement with a couple other players here.
Yeah,
At the lighthouse.
Just a lot of open space right now. Rightfully so, Zero builds. You don't want to get too close to one another too quick, especially if you really don't have those border bunkers. Kind of give yourself a little bit of extra shields. It's kind of the best builds you're going to do in a Zero build competition. It's sheer insanity. He's just trying to disengage, but Medina hot on his heels. Does look like some sort of vehicle was driven up, and he's ready to end it. Shots being fired out between the two. Switch to the SMG. Trying to use all 3-4 weapons in the loadout, but Medina, 100K, going ahead and ending that fight quick. Nice hammer pump, switching to the Striker. And Striker, man, that thing deals so much damage with great hipfire accuracy, especially if you have the right modifications.
For sure. And Medina, though, the issue that they've now encountered is they did lose practically a good chunk of their HP. They're going to have to figure out a method to get those shields back up and running. So as you can see, some other players like Zerko here at Hazy Hillside. Entire POI hasn't even been fully looted out just yet. So while there may have been a little bit of early engagements taking place elsewhere on the map, Zerko probably just content to continue prioritizing getting as much good loot online as possible. Although, have to remember, a lot of our other competitors that have already managed to find themselves an elimination or two, those are going to be the players that are really looking to kick things up by just formulating their early positioning plans. That way they can look for even further eliminations, just continue trying to choke point the lobby, force players to go into more open ranges, force them to waste any porta bunkers that they might have. It makes all the difference when it comes down to some of these final zones.
No, it really does, and particularly those eliminations. We've seen it way too often, especially most recently the last Dallas Cowboys, the EU FNCS. One elimination, Taco, is what separated the winner and the second place. And now you think about this. We're in this tournament, winner take all. You get the VIP draft experience with your hotel and transportation paid for, very little to worry about. So you got to imagine those eliminations are going to mean so much. You kind of take a look on the left. That is the difference between having that much fun and watching something like that at home.
Yeah, I think Codigo's trying to say something to the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, get my man a new uniform for this event, right? That's going to be the main thing. Keep an eye out here for. But I like this. So cautious. Codigo definitely having the right mentality here. You never want to just dry approach a room. Always got to be ready to fire off. Codigo just seemingly expecting to encounter someone shortly here at Ritzy Rivera. For how many players are actually populating this POI, Jacob? A bit surprised that we haven't seen any heavier engagements take place, but Codigo definitely seems set and keen for some action. I like the rotation out, just kind of scope the surrounding area, get a good feel out for where the rest of the lobby might actually be setting up at, because we do have players finding themselves eliminated further north. King, one elimination. Start things off here today. I'm trying to play it safe still at Rebels Roost, but there's a decent body of water to cross here, Jacob, for players like King to actually find their way into zone.
Yeah, I think a lot of players are taking the Jacob approach early on. You know, hide in bushes, break out some roofs, get in the attic, and just kind of chill for a little bit, where you can grab a lot of the early placement. And you kind of saw the format. It's the top 5 where those placement points begin to set in. So it doesn't matter if your drop was uncontested. It doesn't matter if you stayed alive for 15 plus minutes. It's all about that top 5. And AZ has the right plan in mind. Look at his loadout. He has the grapple blade, the flowberry fizz, both of those for shield and movement. He has his porta bunkers for that way when it does get into later zones. He has the frenzy auto shotgun, which is a staple in zero builds. And then for long range, instead of the striker, he's going to get a little bit more risk in that Reaper sniper, but sometimes the risk is worth the reward.
This loadout says confidence to me, though, especially when your only method for taking some of those long-range fights is just depending on your accuracy with the Reaper sniper. I like the message that Assie's trying to send us right now. Curious to see how well it actually pans out for him, but you were talking pretty highly of him earlier on. You mentioned the fact that he is actually a returning winner for the Dallas Cowboys Game Time tournaments, Jacob, so seems he's definitely looking for a repeat if possible. Meanwhile, players like No Master hoping to try and shut that dream down, claim it for themselves. It's a decent loadout as well for No, but having a hammer pump in comparison to some of the other competitors that are going to be rocking the Frenzy Auto, and Jacob, I know everybody's got their own sort of preferences, but Frenzy Auto, when it comes to zeros, just so much more impactful.
Yeah, especially when you're in the end game going from porta bunker to porta bunker and you're having to fire off quick shots and quick succession. You think the hammer pump, which it does deal a ton of damage, but due to the overshield and the ability to have 250 shield and HP, you kind of need that extra shot. And yeah, just as easy, you could switch to some sort of striker or maybe a thunderburst, but just kind of going against the frenzy auto, especially in the right player's hands, is kind of too much to overcome, as Noah's just trying to hide into a bush. But the true Cowboys fan spotting him out, almost landing a Reaper snot through, but at least he knows exactly where that player's positioned, even if he's shrouded a little bit by the bush.
Cowboys fan has to be careful, though. He might have the elevation advantage, but he knows he's got another player on the drive in. Pfluger drift. Thought for a moment they were actually going to try to tango here with Cowboys fan, but instead the Cowboys fan managed to hold on to the position for the time being, keeping control of these pushes. Noah Bongo making the approach. Cowboys fans doing an excellent job with this Thunderburst, trying to take out the overshield, trying to take out some of their shield as well. Up close and personal. And one hit with the pump after working down the shield to the Thunderburst. That's how you get the job done. Another easy elimination here for Cowboys fan. 2 on the mark. Potentially even a third, depending on how Cadigo actually chooses to play it. Is Cowboys fan just slightly in zone. Not going to be able to find a shot through the window just yet of that vehicle. But Cowboys fan not going to be forced from their perch. The next zone pool. Cowboys fan knows positioning is everything. They just had some primo positioning as well, which resulted in yet another elim. And so the points just continue to stack up.
Those are it. Those are the ones that kind of separate you, especially early on, before placement points really start to set in and really make a difference. A-Miles on screen. I even see Diggy Tate in the distance. Kind of up-and-comer, trying to earn a name for himself. And this is the perfect time to do it in solo competitions. You really don't have to rely on anybody else or finding a teammate to kind of make it come to fruition, as Miles still just hiding his position. I like the patience coming out of Miles, especially since the zone pulls away from him. Instead of taking shots, yeah, he could probably try to fight and even blow up that vehicle, but then you're going to be stuck. Everybody's going to know where you're at. You're going to be outside of zone, and then you're going to be a target on top of it. So patience is going to be key in a lot of these games as well. And that's the key that we didn't talk about earlier on with Ford's key to success. But there's just so many different things that you got to take a note of in Fortnite, especially a zero builds competition, that, you know, sometimes that's those hidden attributes that mean the most.
A little bit of an off-roading experience here for Eugene. And that's the other thing, too, about vehicles, though, Jacob, is that while they do provide some great coverage, they also simultaneously alert the entire lobby of exactly where you are currently located. You can see a handful of players here, almost looking like their own sort of armada with all the vehicles they've got in play. But again, with this being a solo zeros build competition, every single one of these players definitely looking to try and take their time with their approaches.
No,
Kirby now.
I feel like K-Dubs hit the fill up, and now Kirby's is next. There is, what are we witnessing, man? Gas prices are too high for this taco. They're way too high to be just filling up one after the next. But that is something, honestly, after the amount of Fortnite, after the amount of zero builds, and using these vehicles that I've seen, that is one of the first times I've actually seen somebody go for a fill up.
More impressed at the fact that somebody isn't trying to camp the gas stations, instead take care of some of these pranksters. But Fried Man, running out to get up, just wants to get a little bit of damage applied to that vehicle. Keep in mind the HP on these vehicles is not infinite. You can slowly or rapidly chip away at them. Although Fried Man kind of recognizing the fact that it's just not really worth expending all of your ammo, although he certainly has an ample source of it. It's still just one of those things where you don't need to put yourself too far out of position, because again, every chance that Fried Man goes for shots on somebody else's vehicle is also an opportunity that somebody could look to take him out with a Reaper sniper. We've seen how many of our competitors already carrying at least one sniper, so it's definitely a pretty risky situation at times when you look to apply damage to everyone else.
Yeah, especially if you're out of zone, you destroy somebody else's vehicle. They're going to do the same thing. They're just going to go ahead and target your vehicle right back, kind of tit for tat. You destroy mine, I destroy yours. None of us is going to have an easy road to the zone. The NPO finds another one of them. This one, he has a little bit of a boost, but you have to be careful. Can't just go crazy boosting this one away unless you're going to have to stop for gas somewhere along the road. But NPO, I think he just has his eyes set on just getting into the zone, taking it one step at a time and not thinking too far ahead of himself in a lot of these situations. But this is where stage in the game, we're about to go to zone 5, going into zone 6, where a lot of those players, where they're positioned in cars or positioned in some of these buildings that are left behind, they are going to be so close to each other and facing danger at any moment.
Look at this from Tatlow, just so stealthy, waiting out inside the building. A decent loot pile underneath. That's rather tempting for somebody that might be choosing to approach this building now. Tatlow might have found a victim here in MPO if MPO actually chooses to venture inside, but seems as though for right now MPO may be located just outside of the building that Tatlow is sitting here waiting in. And I like this method. It can definitely be a really effective, easy way to kind of open up space around you as well. If anybody takes the trap bait, just quick eliminations, all that Tatlow is looking for. But now Tatlow, you're almost committed at this point to seeing whether or not somebody's actually going to try and approach. I think we might just be too far into the game, Jacob. Most players just prioritizing getting directly into zone, not trying to wait for much longer.
Yeah, especially kind of looking down at some of the loot that was there. Didn't really see porta bunkers. They didn't really see anything useful to players, so to say. Obviously, some heals and shields there are gonna go a long way for if you don't have it traveling out of zone. But a lot of the players kind of uncontested in certain spots, rotating the zone, really not having to use much of their resource up until this point. So you can kind of see just kind of scrapping together, and you can see this is season with the addition of the ballistic shield. This is how a lot of these end games will play out. And you can kind of see that ballistic shield also kind of plays as a pistol. So he does still have 2 weapons and some shields in his loadout. He has the porta bunker. I think he right now has the go-to loadout, barring a rarity or 2 in his frenzy when it comes to zero builds.
And you can see the constant panning around, the constant shifting, trying to ensure that that ballistic shield stays protecting his head as much as possible, while he's also looking for some of these aggressive peeks onto players surrounding him. And Zerko trying to take out It's Killing Time inside the water. But unfortunately, It's Killing Time is just at a massive disadvantage. Great job, though, from Zerko to essentially just pinpoint another player prevent them from having a chance to enter the zone. Shockwave plus the Flowberry Fish just cover some good ground. The real challenge is going to be met with Zerko. As soon as he gets to the edge of this next zone, he can already tell he's got one player directly next to him. That's going to be No Master, who's also trying to make the same last-minute approach here into the edge of zone. But these guys have got to be careful. So many individuals already facing up their porta bunkers, and Zerko's just going to add another one to the tally.
And I just saw Wicked go down. That was kind of one of my favorites here in this event, but it was actually Friedman. Friedman really drove that vehicle till the wheels fell off, and actually it all blew up, and that kind of forced him to exchange with his opponent. Luckily for him, he did come out on top. Haxor taking out Tate. You got K-Dubs kind of being the what looked like an Uber driver there for a moment. Sometimes you just have to hitch a ride, even here in solos.
You can see Zerko very wary currently of having players approach on their backside, but where they distributed these last two porta bunkers, Jacob, they're going to have to make another move. Zone continues to shrink. And players like Kirby going to have to actually move from their comfortable position inside the buildings here at Pleasant Piazza. Some of these buildings not even fully looted out still. Kirby kind of has their pick of the litter. Whether or not they want to actually take that big pot, going to opt to keep the grapple blade and porta bunkers instead. King now trying to do what they can to defend their position, defend their porta bunker, but it's so difficult to keep these other vehicles from charging your position. And King, the more they jump, the more they are able to scope out just how many of their competitors are directly next to their current bunker.
Yeah, you can kind of see a lot of players noticing that same thing. Kirby, one of the players who literally drove right past, going toward the edge of zone, even trying to switch up the vehicles. Somebody angered the NPC there for a moment. Another team driving right by, and you're seeing a lot of these vehicles really being utilized, but they've had enough driving them around. You said you didn't pay the fare. NPO landing a couple shots, getting that second player out of his vehicle, but No Master positioned up on a porta bunker as well. Kirby sees as an opportunity, a lot of open space on the southwest part of the zone. He's going to beeline it straight there, get behind this rock, and really not have to utilize those porta bunkers just yet.
Curb actually forcing porta bunker out of No Master, and Curb barely managing to hold on to this Jeep for the time being. Vehicle on the cusp of exploding. Now that is going to be forced to ditch. Didn't want to be caught inside that vehicle once it actually exploded and caught fire. Porta bunker coming out here from Curb. But it's Hasi who's got the high ground. Curb also getting lit up from everybody at the bottom of this hill. Curb does have a medallion in tow though. And CM Shield again already coming into effect here. Curb trying to get some shots with the Thunderburst onto Hazi, but Hazi's at the peak of this hill. Curb just doesn't have an angle, doesn't have a good line of sight. Two medallions, in fact. Before Curb though, it's still back to 60. King, Cowbob, they're going to take the party directly to Hazi at the top of this hill. And now Curb stuck again. Let's contemplate. Do I just flying this shot into Cowbob? Cowbob going to recognize the fact, okay, got to ditch the vehicle as well. Shockwaves for some of these players. A little bit of a clustering happening as Curb chooses to follow right behind Cowbob. And it's another porta bunker, but Cowbob chooses to run directly into the porta bunker here with Curb. Cowbob getting depleted immediately upon entering. Curb one more time with the wraparound, skirting, dancing, trying to get the rest of the lobby to stop focusing him, but it's Hazi still holding Curb down from the high ground.
Yeah, he's now able to get just a ton of loot thanks to that elimination. A third medallion, the big pot to make sure to top himself up. Mythic loot, everything he needs and more to kind of push himself over the edge. Top 4 situation. Placement points already being granted for teams here in this lobby. Cody Goes just trying to go ahead and pop the rest of his Flowberry Fizz, get his shields up. Rotation is forcing these players down the mountain, so anybody towards the top needs to have some trick underneath their sleeve if they want to look to survive.
Nice shockwave out of No Master is going to put him back into the perfect positioning. Don't know whose porta bunker this was initially. Might have belonged to Curb even, but that's neither here nor there. Curb out in the open, caught for a second. Another porta bunker going to come out. Codigo now wanting to challenge, but everybody looking to collapse on top of Curb. And it's No Master underneath the porta bunker, sneaking around. King doesn't seem to realize that No Master's here, just crouched up, waiting for the time to strike. No! Soon as Nono Master reveals himself, Godigo takes him out, but Ale King with a real victory royale over both of these players. Just a perfect third-party circumstance. Couldn't ask for a better finish.
He needed two things at the end of that game: patience and opportunity, and he had both. You said it yourself. As soon as those first two started engaging, he cleaned it right up to take the game overall. So we know who is on top here in game one. It's just a matter of the eliminations, the placement points, who squeaked into that top five. Taco, I got so many questions.
Yeah, and I can't blame you. You can see some of our early highlights from throughout the course of this match. Sheeran Sandy, I feel so bad for him in this moment too. I swear that miniature fumble when you're trying to toggle to the right weapon happens to the best of us. Shake it off, go for round two. But yeah, I was really impressed by the way that a couple of our competitors chose to play out some of these final moments here, Jacob, because you could see there was no one really wanting to be the first person out into the open, the first person to try and make that rotate. But there were just so many old porta bunkers as well being left all over the place. So once these zones started pulling in every which direction, it was only a matter of time for everybody had to congest into one spot.
Yeah, I was kind of getting a little bit more worried as I saw that end game beginning to progress, seeing the different loadouts, some choosing not to even take hills, no porta bunkers, and very, very little rotation. Some players really have to kind of rely on those shockwaves due to the low probability of the grapple blade even spawning. But when you run out of those shockwaves, you don't have the porta bunkers. It is just a terrible nightmare to have to go through. And another thing you kind of mentioned, Pfluger going down early. I saw Wicked go down early. Even, I believe, Hazi was taken out at one point or another. So a lot of the players I specifically looked at to be the stars of the show went down early in game one. So with 2 games left, they really have to pick up the pace.
Yeah, and that's going to be the real challenge, right? Especially for some of our players. I got off to a pretty hot start here. I'm looking at the ones that were in the final moments of our first game. They're going to have a head start, obviously, as far as the leaderboard is concerned, because, again, the point spread, 15 points for that victory royale, eliminations only being 1 point apiece. It's not like you can cover up the ground by just keying the entire lobby looking for a bunch of eliminations. No, you're going to have to make up for it with some solid placement as well. And I think one thing I would like to keep an eye out here for, as far as game 2 is concerned, is if you're going to be the first player on the hill, I think it's just big trying to push everybody else off from around you. But again, in a solo competition, it's so difficult because you can't look every direction at once.
Yeah, and kind of get the Reaper Sniper now that that's been in the game. And you've seen some of the loadouts being Frenzy and Reapers, the mobility. So it's very, very important that even if you're on the first, the top of the castle, like you're saying, to really watch out because there's so many different things that can toss and turn things upside down. But the leaderboard is in.
Get 15 points, sure, off of the Victor Royale, but then the excess, the other 9, that's all in the eliminations game.
Yeah, you can kind of see it down the leaderboard. Even Cowbob, missing placement altogether. That is straight 8 points of elimination, trying to keep himself in the conversation. And that is the important thing. With only 3 games overall, 1 is already done, 2 left. This next game is so important to keep yourself in contention of that first place prize. You don't have to overtake it by any means, but you got to keep the gap, I want to say respectfully, between 8 and maybe 12 points to try to overcome, because then it's 15 for the Victory Royale and then a couple more eliminations if you kind of need it. So this game is one that's going to be the turning point for a lot of the teams here in the lobby.
Something I was also a little bit surprised by was the lack of NPC hires. I would almost be curious to see if some of our competitors actually choose to try and utilize some of the NPCs scattered around the map. I mean, there's a handful that could really make a pretty big difference. I'm thinking Vengeance Jones. If we saw a handful of players dropping by the ship-it station right there at Underground Headquarters, you can pick up a Frenzy Auto off of Vengeance Jones on top of a couple of other goods. But it's just, I think the little things can really add up in these kinds of formats for a tournament. And so I think it'd just be cool to see a little bit more of that for some of our players competing here today. But again, I can't control where everybody's choosing to drop, right? And how players actually want to loot out that drop on top of that. So whether NPCs actually get utilized a little bit more in our next game or not, I think it'll still be some fun Fortnite.
Yeah, I definitely think it is as well. And there's a lot of Fortnite that can change because you can go into the replays, you can figure out what went wrong, and you can do your best to fix it. But we want to go ahead and take some insight for one of our players. We got an interview. We got Hercules interviewing one of our stars of the show, Pfluger.
Hi, everybody. Welcome in. My name is Hercules, and I am so excited to be joined by none other than Pfluger from Fortnite. Pfluger, we gotta get right into this. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to meet you and to get to know you and learn a little bit about your career. And speaking on your career, I know you've been kind of on the come up this past year, a lot of success. We've seen you at Gamers 8, we've seen you at DreamHack Dallas, all over Texas from what I am hearing.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what this last year's been like for you.
It's been absolutely insane. I mean, where do I even start? I mean, I've traveled to Dallas, went to San Diego for a DreamHack, went to Raleigh, North Carolina for, I think, the Invitational, but I wasn't playing in that. I was just, spectating, getting to watch Fortnite, it's been nice. But yeah, I think the main one everyone knows about is going to Gamers 8 in Saudi Arabia. So that, I mean, that was absolutely insane. So you love to see
How
it.
was that? I had my first Gamers 8 experience too this past year, so I know it was probably very overwhelming in a good way, but how is it to play Fortnite on like that level of a stage?
I've dreamed of playing on like that level ever since I was at least 13, and I'm 21 now. So I mean it's been a long time. So I mean it's been a dream come true. So I mean I'm truly blessed, honestly.
Well, we're all very happy for you. And speaking of, you said you've been playing for so long, since around 13, right? Since then, there have been a ton of changes to Fortnite.
Oh
Even
my
I
gosh,
played
yeah.
Fortnite back then, and that is
Yep.
not the same game.
No, I mean
Speaking,
it's completely different.
oh, it is.
So
It totally
yeah.
is. Like, and touching a little bit on those changes, though, I know that there's been a lot in the past year. Do you have a favorite change that has been made to the game?
Ooh, for the past year, I mean, it's got to be this season. I really like the new weapon attachments they've added this season. It's been nice. I mean, it just feels like a different game, honestly, compared to like what it was before with like the hit scan. But I mean, now it gives like a new element to the game, which is nice,
Well, yeah, that's a hard game. Listen, guys, we all know I
Yeah.
come from Rocket League. We're the other Epic sister. We're related by Epic at this
I
point.
mean, hey,
but
I used to play a little bit of Rocket League also, so I get it. I got up to like
there we go.
champs or something like that, champs 3. Before
That's really
they got
good,
like
though.
no, it was good. I played keyboard and mouse whenever it like first
I
came
play
out.
keyboard
So
and mouse.
do you? Oh my gosh, let's go.
Yes.
Let's
Literally
go.
because I played Fortnite.
Yup. Oh my gosh,
There
let's
we
go.
go. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, back in my day, back in the chapter 1 era of Fortnite, I know we all kind of had favorite maps. So throughout the early stages of Fortnite, what was your favorite OG map?
Ooh, my favorite OG map. Are you talking about like drop spots or just like the overall map?
I think
Okay.
favorite. Well, we can do both if you want to do both.
Okay. I mean, my favorite map has to be whenever Paradise Palms came out. I mean, that was just like the whole like nostalgic feeling of just like a whole new biome. I mean, it was awesome. But I think my favorite, I mean, I have two favorite POIs. I mean, you gotta mention Wailing Woods. I used to land there like, oh my gosh, I think that's my first spot I ever landed. So I mean, it's so
Ooh.
nostalgic. But I think
How did you
I
like
really
decide-
wait, say it again. Sorry.
How did you like decide your spot? Because I was a random
Ooh.
person. I would just go randomly.
I used to watch a little bit of like competitive Fortnite, and I mean, one of my favorite pros, he was Liquid Chaff, and he landed there every single event, and I mean, I wanted to, land by him, just know the spot, and that's how it came around. So.
Oh, I love that. Well, speaking of favorites, there are some new fun things that have been added into the Fortnite sphere. And I think a favorite for a lot of people in and out of the game is obviously Legos. Lego
Yeah.
Fortnite has recently become a thing. Have you gotten to try it yet? Have you done it?
I have. It's it was fun whenever I first played it. I'm more of personally of like a competitive player, just like just at heart, just competitive player. But I think it's really fun. It feels like that Minecraft like feeling where you could just go out, hang out with friends and stuff like that. So it's awesome.
It is really awesome. Speaking of which, speaking of friends, actually, we heard that you got to hang out with your friends, the Cowboys, earlier
Yeah.
this past year. How was that game? What was the experience like?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I've never gone to an NFL game. I've been to like a few college games before. I mean,
Mhm.
those games were crazy, but it was nothing compared to like the NFL game. Like the crowd was absolutely insane. So, I mean, it was crazy to say the least.
How did you like the Dallas Cowgirls? Like, how'd you like the
Well, I mean,
cheerleaders?
they performed well. I mean, what can I say? What can I say? They performed well.
They did their job well.
Exactly.
Were you like a Cowboys fan before, or do you have like a favorite? Don't say it. If it's not the Cowboys, just say it's the Cowboys.
I mean, Cowboys gotta be top three. Come on. I mean, they gotta be top three. I'm in Arlington, so I mean, come on. I'm like, what, 10 minutes away from the stadium? They gotta be top
All
three.
right. All
Yes,
right. Do you
sir.
have a favorite player on the Cowboys?
I mean, come on, Dak Prescott. Oh my God, Dak Prescott. 100%. He's been here
Okay.
since 2016. I mean, he's made a name for himself also, so I mean, gotta go with him.
I respect it. I respect it. Well, I'm glad you had a great time, and we're gonna go a little bit back into your Fortnite sphere, right? Speaking of like tournaments, games, all the funness of it. What are the community events kind of mean for you? I know that that's kind of
Oh
your
my
time to be
gosh.
around everybody. So what's that like to you?
I mean, it's been everything, especially for zero build, since I think Fortnite doesn't really host major zero build events, but all of these third party events for like community and stuff like that, it's been everything for me. Like that's how I've made a name for myself. Like the Six Flag event. I know Tim Tatman hosted a tailgate. That's where I first made
Mhm.
my name for myself. So I mean, it's been crazy. It's been life changing, really.
And of course, you're going to be playing in the Fortnite event here with Complexity. If you were to win the grand prize,
Ooh.
who are you taking with you?
I mean, it's between two people. I mean, it's my best friend from high school. He's a huge Dallas Cowboys fan, and then I mean, it's my brother. I mean, I've lived with him my whole life. We're like best friends. So, I mean, come on. I don't know. I don't know which one, but I gotta choose soon, especially if I win.
All
So.
right. Especially if you win, got to keep the mindset up. If you already
Yep.
have that prediction in
So
your
wait, let
mind,
me
you
let
know.
me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that. Win, I
Okay,
win.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Win
yeah.
the win.
Win,
There we
I
go.
win.
That's the energy we want.
Yup.
Manifest it. I love it. Well, in the off chance that you do manifest it and you get your win and you get to head out to see the Cowboys again, fun little trick question, I guess, would be if you were the coach of the Cowboys, what
Ooh.
position are you trying to draft to improve the team?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I mean, hey, we got Dak as like the QB. Come on. I mean, I would say we gotta have a right hand man. We gotta have a running back. I'm down for a little running
Okay.
back action.
All right.
Ooh,
Potential new.
even maybe a center because I mean, hey, I used to be a center, so
Okay.
I
Got the
would like to
Pfluger
see that.
roar.
Yep.
Well, are there okay? Pfluger lore. You're talking about positions you would want. Who would your draft prospect be?
There is one name that has been all around the scene recently, and I forgot his name. I don't remember what it is, but I know he's a QB. I know he's a QB,
Mhm.
and he's been the talk of the town. So I mean, it would have to be him. So
All right. Well, technically, you're just keeping it under wraps. You don't want anybody to take your
yeah,
pick.
no,
So
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
just no leaks
Got to keep it
here
low
on this.
key. Yeah.
Got to keep it low key until we make our draft on this one.
Exactly.
Exactly. Well, Pfluger, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Good luck in the rest of your event. Are there any words that you'd like to say before you head out?
I think if anything, good luck to the other competitors. I wish you the best of luck, but unfortunately, I will be taking it home.
There you have it. Pfluger claims now invest in the stocks. He's taking it home today. Thank you so much for hanging out again. Guys, enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you so much, Hercules, and the wonderful Pfluger for being able to give us insight on himself and everything he has going on Fortnite. But we got some more to show you. We got Kyle and a Lenovo Go showcase coming up.
I received this package on my desk about 4 days ago, and I've wanted to open this up and get going for 4 days now. I mean, I've been counting down every single moment for this. This is the Lenovo Legion Go. This is a brand new piece of technology from our friends over at Lenovo. They sent this to the Star in Frisco. I mean, you can see you got the trophies behind me, you got the monitor loop behind me. And now in front of me, I've got a monitor that is built for gaming on the go. So I'm really excited about this. I'm even going to move the camera down so that way you guys get a front row seat at how this is going to work. So I've got this thing opened up, and even here, look at this unboxing from what we've got from this point forward. I mean, this is gorgeous. Straight off the top, you've got the cover of what is a portable case underneath here. You got the shiny side of it. The charger is to the left here, or excuse me, to the right. I don't know my directions apparently. Got my charger right here. The charger's nice and wrapped up. And this is actually a crucial part of this whole piece because it is fast charging. It's got that USB-C, and I saw it on the box. I was really excited about it. So you've got multiple chargers that could work like this. This one, of course, the 65 watts from Lenovo. It's an easy, lightweight product to use, and it's a quick charger. But this is the part that really is exciting. So you've got this open here. It is a beautiful cover. You've got the Lenovo on the background, the Legion logo. You got some nice little gadget looks here. Let me make sure and show that to the camera. And then you open this thing up. Oh man, I'm so excited about this. Not gonna lie. Here you go. That's the Legion Go. My goodness. It is a processing power of a gaming PC in the palm of your hands. It really is fantastic. I'm going to move the box out of the way. We got a great look at the box. There it is. Boom. Look at this thing. This thing is absolutely nuts. It is hardcore. You get to just pull the little tab and it pops out of here. It's got both gaming controllers on one side. So you got the detachable right here on the right side. You can pop that off just like that. And you can pop off the left one, just like, oh, this one's a little bit tougher to pop out of here. Make sure not to break it. There we go. Boom. Can't break it. It's too durable. That's the number one thing. So then you've got basically in the palm of your hand, you've got a gaming PC. You've got its own PC. It's got a stand here on the back. It's got the cooling components on the back here as well. Up top, it's got some cooling and some ventilation here too. And whenever you pop it on, once it's ready to go, let's make sure it's ready to go. There it is. Legion popping up right there. The Lenovo Legion Go. It's a Windows 11 gaming PC powered by AMD Ryzen 7 series processor. So I've got my pin. I'm going to hide that from you. I don't want you to know my pin, guys. I can't be having that. But then you pop up into what is a desktop. I mean, look at this. That is a pure and simple desktop all the way through. I know I've got my ring light here, so you got a little bit of glare. Stick with us on that. You've got your entire lower bar here as you would on any other Windows 11 device. You've got the Windows Store, so you can pop up, and you got your settings and everything here. Everything touchscreen-wise, look how quickly that even works from a touchscreen standpoint. Then you pop it up, and this is the Legion menu. So you've got your own menu that you can pull up, and you've got gaming possibilities here. You can add game platforms. Of course, I've got my Xbox already in here because that's what I use back at home. So now let's try and play some games here. So I asked for this to, and I don't want to restart it. I asked for this to be preloaded with some games. Because, I mean, I'm a gaming guy, too. I'm not as much as Fallout. I know Fallout's listening. He's more of the gamer himself. But I love to go home and play games, including racing games. So I've got Forza on here, Forza Horizon. This is launching the game currently. While it's launching, I'm even going to put on some of these controllers back on, make sure the click here as it's loading. It doesn't take very long to load, and Forza, as some of you at home might know, it takes a long time to load, and this doesn't take that long. I mean, we're starting from scratch here. Looky there. Look at that display, 8.8-inch QHD plus display. So, I mean, this is next level. Left controller attached, gives you some little notifications there at the bottom. You can switch down here at the bottom. You can go to FPS mode, which is, of course, the screen only. Oh, my gosh, look at that. That looks like a console at home with Forza. Look how quickly that actually started up here. Then you go here to controller. You go to gamepad mode. You switch this little switch down here. You got gamepad mode, and then you can hit continue. Look at it loading up. This is a gaming PC in the palm of your hand. I mean, Fallout, if you want to jump back in here, have you ever seen anything like this? I mean, this is unbelievable.
Never in my life.
When I got this, and this isn't even just like I'm excited because I'm a gamer and I love working with new technology like this. I'm amazed. I really am. I am absolutely amazed. Look how quickly that was. That was the entire game of Forza and how quickly that just loaded. That's unbelievable.
That's insane. The part I've never seen before that's crazy to me is the fact that it's a full Windows 11 PC. Like when you mentioned that, I had to double take for a second and ask you. Did you say it's an actual PC? I thought it was its own OS, its own software, like a Game Boy or a PS Vita or PSP back in the day. But no, this is a full-blown computer, can run any game on Windows while also having the custom Lenovo Legion software that boots up games. And yeah, look at those graphics. Wow.
Look at this. I'm even going to turn it up. You've got the volume up here, so I'm going to turn it up just so that way you can hear it. I don't know if we probably got a music license that we probably can't do, so I'm going to turn that back down. Because, I don't want to get into any copyright trouble here, but I mean, here we go. We got my little Corvette rolling, got something going here. I know our sponsor is Ford. I need to switch to a Ford Bronco or something cool to work with. But this is it. I mean, this is Forza on the Lenovo Go, and I mean, I'm doing donuts in the middle here, just getting ready to roll. I mean, it is a beautiful gaming device. It has everything you've ever wanted.
After watching Kyle check that one out, I might have to take a trip on over to the training facility and game on some Fortnite on that thing. It looks so insane, let me tell you.
That's a dangerous piece of equipment right there, Jacob, because if either of us were to get our hands on it, I'm afraid nobody else would see us ever again, because obviously the only thing we'd be able to do at that point is just game nonstop, locked away in our bedrooms. So
yeah. Who needs an office anymore when I can just game from the comfort of my bed? But we got to get back into the action, no matter how cool that thing was, because we got game 2 up now. We start off this time around. Around this that we see that last game is how contested this side of the map, this drop in particular, actually was. And not only the contested drop, but how much it was used to rotate through, to rotate around in that last game.
Yeah, Pfluger just doing what he can to loot out the underground headquarters as quickly as possible. Can expect maybe a player or two that opted to land nearby over by the ship at station. And since underground headquarters is in between Pleasant Piazza and Fencing Fields, it's going to mean that Pfluger can definitely opt for a rotate. I think a lot of players have a tendency to try and push more towards that Fencing Field side of things because of the Society Medallion and that Mythic Striker. But for Pfluger, first things first, getting the ammo, the shields that he needs to engage with any sort of battles. We saw in game number 1, Pfluger found himself being elimed extraordinarily early on, Jacob. Definitely not as early as we would have anticipated a competitor like Pfluger to find himself elimed in that first match. But you can see just how keen he is on trying to turn things around here in game 2.
Yeah, and he's someone, I believe it can be done. He's a master of the arts when it comes to zero builds. We talked about it, during the break, how many competitions he had to find himself in, how many top 3s as well as dials in. Sends Crusader Drip back down to the lobby, kind of leaving it all up to a high elimination first place game, because this is a winner-take-all situation. The winner of this event will get a VIP draft experience, hotel, and transportation paid for 2. Not just one, but he go ahead and gets to take him with him. I know in our last year's winner, Hazzy, he took his dad. Him and his dad were actually Cowboys fans.
Aww.
He went ahead and just screamed it. He went and told his dad right away as soon as he won. And that's a trip that he was able to kind of share with the entire family.
That's an awesome memory to make. But it's one that Hazzy is certainly wanting to repeat as well if possible. But first, he's got to get through the lights with Dial Dom and other members in the lobby. Dial, the fun little big capital area here at Reckless Railways. He's got a Mythic Hyper SMG. Can definitely be a useful weapon for close range engagement. But Dial kind of dancing around with all of the NPCs here. Reckless Railways. He's gonna have to deal with some of these Legion tactical grunts first. They all start filtering into the building. Dial Dom actually finding himself incredibly low. Shield's not fully cracked just yet, but with everybody pouring out the same doorway here at Reckless Railways, Dial Dom recognizing that he just gotta take care of Valeria first. Get Valeria out of here, and then we can worry about getting into the vaults, making sure that he gets his shield back up. Cool. Society Medallion from Reckless Railway is certainly going to help him out with that as well. But you can see just how rapidly things can get a little bit risky here. If there had been anyone else at Reckless Railways, could have been a different situation.
Yeah, especially since they popped out like the whole Fortnite army going after him. But you kind of make it a point, target the boss first, stop those other NPCs from being able to spawn, jump on board. Giblets Eugene already has a loot over from Lavish Lair. You see that in terms of that Mythic Frenzy. He has a Striker, and he's kind of doing a double rotation in his loadout. Grapple Blade, 1 Shockwave, and then the Flowberry Fizz to kind of top it all off for shields and rotation. I'm thinking he has to be looking for Porta Bunkers and maybe to switch that Flowberry Fizz out for a different one that is a little bit more full. But other than that, he seems to be pretty well off in his inventory.
Yeah, at least to start the game off, it's not necessarily as dire if you don't have a Porta Bunker right away. You can expect at some of these mid-game engagements, that's where I would probably anticipate players to be able to pick up some Porta Bunkers off of elimming other players, because usually by the time you encounter somebody in the mid-game, at least one of you is going to have a couple of Porta Bunkers stacked up, especially in solo gameplay. It's kind of a necessity if you want to extend your lobby life.
Yeah, we saw it throughout the course, especially in the end game alone. During rotations, players forced to drop them out, even when they're not in zone. If you get focused by the lobby, you kind of have to expend one out just to survive, just to keep yourself going forward. Is Anarchist kind of rotating by a couple players as he goes and leaves Classic Courts, a couple more in towards the zone. Wouldn't say potentially trying to gatekeep him out, but DeBird Lane's getting spotted out. Anarchist now has a chance to take the shot. The first sniper one is going to miss. That's going to give up his location, but no worries for DeBird Lane because he can continue to rotate down the side of the mountain, which is going to give him safety in that line of sight.
But it's still a relatively tough rotate to make. Have to hope that the zones continue pulling more favorably towards that north side of the map, because it's all 4 Porta Bunkers. Did not see any mobility whatsoever. Eugene gonna bail from the vehicle to return fire onto Codigo. Codigo maybe second guessing whether or not they want to continue this exchange, but it's obvious Eugene definitely wants a piece of Codigo. This Flowberry Fizz gonna come out just to give that anti-gravity effect here for Eugene. He rotates over towards the gas station next to Lavish Lair. And there is a vending machine he can use to take advantage of if he finds himself falling relatively low, hoping that all of the shield potions haven't necessarily been bought up just yet from this vending. But first, Eugene wants to make sure that he's got the gas station completely locked down. Actually going to switch things up here and grab a couple of cluster grenades. And I like the idea behind these clingers, Jacob, because things can get really sticky as soon as these grenades start firing out.
Almost looks like he has an option if he wants to like shockwave over, grapple blade towards the top and then kind of throw them down with a little bit of aerial advantage. But Codigo's just kind of watching out in that direction, crouching, not getting spotted up. Overshield going to be the first thing that gets cracked off. Crash pad as Codigo's just trying to cover enough ground to spread the difference between him and Eugene. But with Eugene being hot on the heels and the grapple blade, he doesn't have to worry about running out of crash pad, but he's in the distance waiting for an opportune time just like this to maybe clean up both of the eliminations, but Eugene still wanted to give up. Plus grenades going out, a lot of damage being dealt. Eugene's actually the one on the run, 15 HP. Well, man, that frenzy cannot continue to damage that far away. He's going to follow up, continue to close the distance, and turn the tables on Eugene.
Looked like Codigo was able to finish that one off, but there's a player in the bush. I thought for sure DeBird would possibly look to find that collection on the elimination here. Codigo now gonna opt to just pick up the medallion instead, and DeBird actually not opting to reveal themselves just yet. Now, finally, as Codigo lets their guard down, DeBird gonna showcase themselves from inside that bush. Shieldbreaker EMPs are good, but Codigo still getting lit up from behind, trying to make it into the safety of Lavish Lair. Medallion gonna help with the healing, but a player inside as soon as Codigo turns into the doorway. Next, trying to run him down. And it's gonna be Codigo that does get healing in the process, but now Schmeck has to try and fly.
Yep. The loot changes hands once more. Lavish Lair, 3 different teams of players, I should say. At least having that auto frenzy. Not he really wanted to wait for the medallion to click back up. He wants to be as healthy as possible, even though the NPCs are just that. He's just still trying to escape, and he's been camping over here towards Lavish Player long enough to know that the vault has not been opened up just yet. He opens it up. He probably thinks there's a real player there and immediately disengages. I think eventually he's going to look back in that direction and realize it was just a little bit of a scare and maybe find the confidence to push back over.
Although it could be a lot more troublesome by the time they actually choose to loop back around, given the NPCs, when they start firing off, that lets all the other players inside of Lavish Lair know, okay, there's somebody nearby disturbing the NPCs, causing them to pull aggro. Hasi, definitely strong map awareness as well. But looking at beeline directly into Lavish Lair. Doesn't want to stay outside, just a little bit too exposed in this front courtyard section. So Hasi now, wary as ever though. Whenever you see scattered loot from past engagements, you can expect to be on high alert here, and that's why we see Hasi pump at the ready, crouching through the building even at some points, and just really trying to get an idea of where some of these other players might be at inside of Lavish Lair, because there's definitely a handful of players surrounding the outside of Lavish Lair, but have to expect that there's going to be company inside the building.
Yeah, and I think because of the NPCs, you kind of hear the audio cues, you hear them smacking on some walls. They only really do that when they are alerted, so Hasi knows for a fact somebody is around this position somewhere. Just doesn't know exactly. Finds a refresh on the Flowberry Fizz, but the main thing he's looking for here is more of those Potter bunkers. He does have one, so there is a safety net there, but it's not really a ton to feel confident on, especially since how early it actually is still in this game. Third zone, we're about a quarter of the way there. You jump on board Diggy Tate. Kind of better off in terms of loot. Does have the sniper, 2 porta bunkers instead of 1, 5 different shockwaves, but he's kind of hiding underneath ruined reels. And that's the thing about ruined reels, even though there's a lot of space and a lot of these different buildings underneath, there's a lot of little areas just like this that players can break one of the covers and just kind of hide underneath and wait for the zone to come in.
It's so crazy to me though, just how many of these players are actually opting for these camp out strategies as opposed to just trying to generate the opportunity for eliminations themselves, because you talked about it already, Jacob. You kind of touched on it. The last time this tournament was held, the Dallas Cowboys Game Time tournament format, it came down to the wire. So even though eliminations are only 1 point apiece, those singular points can definitely stack up, and that's the main thing. Keep an eye out here for is Dial Dom finally making quick work here of Schmeck. Seems Schmeck tried to turn things around, tried to get back to their initial position here. But now, Hasi not going to give any space for Dial Dom to breathe. Medallion marking that location. Lets Hasi know time to push. How's he going to get on the roof of the building that Daladam is inside? Kind of recognizing the fact that Daladam just choosing to scurry around, grab the blade out as he needs the shots to connect. But Daladam is out of here. Just grapple blade, too quick to rotate. And now Hazy, having fired off some shots from the striker, has drawn the attention of another player. It's going to be Zerko trying to challenge immediately into the building, grab the blade up. Yeah, Hazy falling incredibly low. Hazy getting elimed entirely. Zerko with the come up, just so aggressively pushing into Hazy after catching Hazy slightly off guard. And also Hazy having to worry about the reloads after just having expended all their clips out of the magazine to take shots at Daladam. And now Daladam, full profiteer here, as Zerko to take the heat off his back and gets to keep the medallion to boot.
That's just unfortunate circumstances for Hazy. That's the second time. In game one, I saw it. I don't remember who it was, but this time we saw it again from Hazy, to where you're trying to throw those shield breakers, and it's just, the space is just not there to make it useful. It's only 70 shields, and while all that's going on, we went ahead and used that Frenzy auto, mixed with a snipe shot that he hit early on, take down Hazy. Logo Everdeen rotating around straight into Ritzy Riviera. And that's the thing about zero builds. When you're first to rotate, you have priority over all the land, all these buildings that you want to enter, anything that you want to take control of as your own. Everybody else has to play a little bit more careful, maybe ride the edge of the zone, make sure nobody is going to be sneaking behind them. The Logo Everteen just kind of picking and choosing which part of Riviera wants to use as its own, scabbing together all these barrels, whatever loot is left by, so that way he doesn't have to use any of the shield fish in his inventory and save them for a later day.
You could tell, though, that Everdeen definitely happy to have found those barrels, but at the same time, moving a little cautiously throughout Ritzy Riviera. I don't think Everdeen believes that they're completely alone, and it's a good hunch to have, because there is another player a little bit closer to the docks by Ritzy, and if Everdeen isn't careful, they might run directly into them. Still a handful of chests that haven't been taken care of or searched. The coconut's gonna get Everdeen that last little bit of shield needed to be back to max 250, thanks to that overshield also recharging at the same time. And again, even though Everdeen might have a little bit of awareness that there's somebody else nearby, Ritzy Riviera, at the same time, it might not encounter them at this rate, just trailing slightly behind. And Everdeen, yeah, it's just gonna be a total wrap up, searching out the finalization of some of these buildings and hope for the best when people start to engage.
Ooh,
okay.
Wow, we jump on board. Curb T, Zerko. Zerko playing musical chairs with the car, bouncing in and out to get the shots needed to stay alive here. And I've actually seen, a lot of situations like this, especially here in zero builds, having the skill to bounce in and out of the cars and still hit the shots is a huge important tool, but he needs to be careful. Pfluger is just down that mountain in the distance, over towards where the forecast tower typically is. Could be a place to hide, or for Pfluger, it could be an opportunity to try to land some shots. There goes a snipe, body shot. Pfluger's going to land that one, returning fire. Zerko's going to hit one of his own. Pfluger, no choice but to disengage right back. Got to stay alive, live to tell the tale. 10 players need to go down right now, Taco, before placement points begin to even set in. So I think that was a wise decision by Pfluger to disengage.
But this is a key position right now for Zerko. There's so many players that they can choose to try and hold at the bottom of this hill. They're just inside the edge of the south side of the zone. And now Zerko, even though it did cost them a porta bunker, at the same time, when you have such a strong overhead view over the rest of the lobby from this position of elevation, Zerko already successfully pushed back Pfluger. And it doesn't appear as though Zerko has to abandon this position anytime soon. They have a few porta bunkers having been set up, looking like they want to attach another one, just get a little bit of a castle perch even at this point with all the porta bunkers that Zerko has opted to expend at the top of this hill. And it's going to be really hard for somebody like Pfluger to try and wrap back around. And we could see why Pfluger was trying to be aggressive with Zerko initially. They saw that big loot pile from the other eliminations that have taken place at the top of this hill, and Pfluger needs shield. Doesn't have a medallion either. His only option might be to try and challenge Zerko and just hope that maybe if someone draws Zerko's attention from the front side, then Pfluger can get a nice flank from the back.
Yeah, and his timing is definitely running out. Zone is going to open up. So even though it's safe now where he's currently positioned because nobody could really sneak behind him, but as the zone opens up, players have the opportunity, whether they use shockwaves, crash pads, or those grapple blades to kind of get behind him, position themselves. But I will say, luckily, Pfluger, there isn't too many buildings there to really try to hide and find some positioning. As you go over closer towards Ritzy Riviera, sheer insanity, trying to make up for the blunder in that last game. Definitely has more than enough to make it a case to get out of zone. 2 shockwaves, 4 grapple blades, but I think he's just trying to go on a hunting spree and try to catch somebody off guard as they rotate out of zone along with him.
Yeah, but Insanity might have spent a little bit too much time waiting for that opportunity to happen, Jacob. Like, we are zone. Insanity makes it in, and then immediately just trying to do what he can to hang on for dear life. A little bit of panic coming through here, but sheer insanity, just too long to actually make his way. And all these other players that have already established their positioning, they're making quick work from these late stragglers here. Dial Dom lucky Elking fell down that slight side of the hill here. Otherwise, you might have been looking at a Dial Dom finding himself eliminated too.
He has to have at least 4 medallions, 3 to 4 medallions. Look at his shield just increasing by 4 every single second. Medkit is there. Dial Dom is a loot llama if anybody can find this elimination, because you get the medkits, you get the shields, you get the mythic loot, and Pfluger stares right down the chamber of a Reaper sniper trying to get the shots, but Dial Dom is ready. He's confident. He's peeking on Pfluger, but finally another shot is going to hit. Pfluger trying to narrow down the damage, and another back-to-back shot. Pfluger has a chance. He's able to get the elimination on the Dial Dom, but now he has to be able to go over. Look at all the medallions that just popped up on the minimap.
When Pfluger knows, he can see the lobby starting to try and converge on his current position. A couple of players spotted those medallions that popped out like a loot llama. As soon as Pfluger found an elimination, but the medallions haven't been collected, he's going to opt to reposition at the bottom of this mountain. Zerko trying to follow along with where Pfluger is actually rotating towards. But the great escape has already happened. Pfluger is out of there. But he's got to be careful with his next approach to the zone. Already a handful of players that have situated themselves inside some of these buildings.
Yeah, this is going to get scary here for Pfluger because he doesn't even have a quarter bunker. He's just trying to go to the side of the zones where he can use the line of sight to his advantage. It's Abbott's on the other side. Pfluger's there, but the Mythic Frenzy, too strong to overcome. Pfluger strikes again. 4 eliminations so far, Taco. This could be the game that brings Pfluger back.
Yeah, we saw how tough that Game 1 performance actually ended up being for Pfluger. This is a man on a mission now here in game number 2. He wants to find a victory royale. 4 medallions, certainly giving him a strong case for winning this one out. But again, still has a handful of other competitors that he's got to make quick work of. As the zone continues to pool. Most awkward way as well. Having to cross a body of water is always a tough task to ask, much less in zeros here, where a lot of our competitors are probably going to end up having to expend porta bunkers if they've got them.
Yeah, that's right. Timing on this rotation is going to be crucial. You go too soon, you become the target, especially if you don't have this porta bunkers of which you're speaking of. You go too late, you get held out of the zone while it continues to push in. And already things are getting exciting. Zerko to get another elimination onto an opponent, take him out, get 1 more point, and 1 more step closer to those placements.
Miles spots an opportunity here. No Master just making it around the rock, though, in time to prevent shots coming out from Miles. But now the vehicle whipping overhead. Miles can actually take that as a chance to drop in onto a third-party engagement, steals the elimination out from underneath the nose of another competitor. As Miles got Pfluger off to his right side. Pfluger, keep in mind with those 4 medallions, his position is going to be very accurately marked for everybody else inside this lobby. And you can see just how prepared Pfluger is, trying to make sure that he's keeping tabs on 2 separate directions. Ale King loses half his shield. Pfluger just beaming from this downward position.
He pulls back to zones, though. He got some super advantage in positioning. Zerko once again ends up in a fight, but Pfluger steals that one away. Now he's going in for the finish. Even though he gets swiped by the grapple blade, Pfluger picks up 2 more late game eliminations, and he already knows that player is positioned right above him at the top of the mountain. Flowberry Fizz instantly comes out. That's more than enough to get him 100 shields and help on this next rotation, and he's still saving 1 more tick on that Flowberry Fizz for later.
A couple of rocks also going to provide Pfluger with some solid coverage here as he makes it to the top of this hill. Zipline underneath them. Elking, though, going to be the first to challenge inside the bottom of the porta bunker here for Pfluger. Now another player runs in. It's Miles. The ballistic shield that Elking is rocking. That's going to be enough for Pfluger to disengage. Trying to wrap around the backside, but it's actually going to be Miles that helps with the assist here. The unintended savior for Pfluger. As Elking gets taken out. That was perfectly timed for Pfluger.
Perfectly timed yet again. He goes to the front side of zone, gives himself a chance to look back. Pfluger's ballistic shield back in the inventory, but it's not even going to get a chance to use it. Pfluger, with 7 eliminations, takes over the game here in Game 2 to pop off with a big win.
And that was certainly the comeback story that Pfluger needed if he wants to keep himself in contention, because this is a winner-takes-all style of play here in the Dallas Cowboys Game Time Tournament, Jacob, because everybody wants to win that ticket for that VIP draft party experience. And Pfluger, we saw Elking, one of the top competitors currently at top of the leaderboard, and the fact that Pfluger was able to watch Miles eliminate his direct opposition, you couldn't have asked for a better storyline.
Yeah, you said it there. Elking being able to stay alive with a great pop-off performance for Pfluger. The thing is, it's consistency over 3 games, not 1, not 2. It's all 3 overall. Pfluger doing a good job of being able to close the gap for moments like this. He has the awareness of knowing when these players are weak to kind of finish off, clean up eliminations, especially in big moments like this. Look around the map. He stole that one away from Zerko and then took down Zerko himself. It doesn't matter what situation Pfluger was in. He always seemed to stay 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of his competition.
And that elimination that Pfluger found onto Zerko as well, it's almost so bittersweet as far as Zerko's position, because Zerko, he nearly elim'd Pfluger. Keep in mind, Pfluger tried to challenge Zerko at the top of that hill initially, and it was actually Zerko that got the better end of Pfluger. We saw Pfluger with only 9 shield, no porta bunkers, no methods, no shields, no way to really sustain, and yet still managed to 180 his position in that second lobby and find himself a victory royale with those 7 elims.
Yeah, just kind of looking, you think about how a couple of these past games have been going. It's really about staying alive. I know that's easier said than done in a 0-build competition. And when you make it to those end games, it's that inventory, what you've been able to scavenge that is keeping players alive. Because you saw throughout the course of that game, Pfluger, at one point or another, we saw him at the side of the mountain, 100 HP, maybe 5 shields, no heals, nothing really useful in his inventory. As soon as he was able to pick up elimination on rotation, I think it was its habit that he was able to take down. That's where he found his bunkers. That's where he found a lot of his heals. And that's what kind of helped him move to the next stage of the game. And then you kind of add in the fact back-to-back zones went in his favor on those moving zones, which he was able to kind of use to stay ahead of his competition and look back and get those eliminations.
Yeah, I will say, though, the one similarity that I've noticed between Game 1 and Game 2, it's been about the grapple blade so far. That method of mobility just seeming to be the all-star as far as our players are concerned here today, because without that grapple blade, we don't see this run from Pfluger, because he gets eliminated by Zergo the moment he made that initial approach. So it's clear that we are definitely seeing some prevalence coming out of the grapple blade and what it's able to provide in terms of getting our players both in and out of sticky situations.
Yeah, because, you've seen the shockwaves. We've seen it so many times to where once you use them, they're done. But we got the leaderboard now. We got another close race coming right up. Elking, 23 points overall. Pfluger has closed the gap. He has 22 points. So this is going to be an interesting final game.
This is really going to boil down to how well Elking and Pfluger are going to be able to actually maintain their late game posterity. Because keep in mind, even though Elking and Pfluger are clear favorite contenders, you've still got Codigo and even DM16 not too far behind. If Codigo or DM can find themselves a victory royale inside of this final lobby, Jacob, there is a chance that they could look for an upset and shake things up for that first place spot on the leaderboard.
Yeah, honestly, anything can go wrong because we have seen all three of our competitors in the top three go down early or earlier than some would hope in respective games before the placement has really begun to set in. And with eliminations playing the difference, even if we see these guys in our final three, in our final game of the day, it could still come down to the elimination differential. And you got to realize, since this is a solo competition, once you end up in that top five, every player that you eliminate, not only do you get points for the elimination, but you get placement points simultaneously on top of that. And you could see top five gets you 3, and then it moves higher and higher, with fourth being 5th, third being 7, second being 10, which is a big amount of points, but you want that victory royale. You want the 15 points overall.
Yeah, and just to highlight one more time here, it is a solos format as far as the Dallas Cowboys Game Time Tournament is concerned, and it is 0 builds across the course of all 3 games. And again, even though we've already seen how these last 2 lobbies have played out, Jacob, as far as this third match is concerned, I think it's really still up in the air. A lot of it is certainly going to hinge on whether or not players are able to maintain good positioning, because again, winner does take all. And when the grand prize is this VIP draft party experience for 2, you get your flights and your hotel covered, as well as getting to spend the day hanging out at the Ford Center with the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, that's got to just be a dream come true.
That has to be a dream come true. And honestly, my brother is a huge Cowboys fan. I probably should have entered it instead of casting it, because then I would have been the favorite brother of the entire family, being able to win and take him to this draft experience. Look how fun that looks, being in the crowd, being with fans just like yourself. To me, it's almost like, when we go to these Fortnite events and just the passion that these Fortnite people and the Fortnite fans have for the game. That's exactly what we're watching and looking at here. The passion that is coming from every single person being able to experience this. And that could be you guys at home. Granted, you might have to be in the competition at the top of the leaderboard at this stage of the game, because it's our final game left.
Yeah, and one more time, just another really quick shout out to the primary sponsor behind this Dallas Cowboys Game Time Tournament. It's going to be Lenovo, making smarter technology for all. Huge shout outs to them for helping put everything together here and try to make dreams a reality for at least one of our competitors here today.
Yep. And if you guys want to go ahead and experience the Dallas Cowboys in a whole nother way, make sure you guys register for the 2024 Dallas Cowboys Youth presented by Invisalign. Athletes of all skill levels are welcome, ages 6 to 16. The best of the summer at the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco. And the football camps are coached by former NFL players. Our dance camps are coached by our Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. And like I said last time, if you want to get a deal, if you want to take advantage, make sure you guys sign up before May 17th to get $25 off. Make sure you go to dallascowboys.com/camp. Something I might have to check out myself. Might send my brother there. He might be a little too old, but I might send him down there so at least he can experience it from the crowds at least.
Yeah, I mean, or you could just try to play it the same way that I do, right, Jacob? I mean, height-wise, I'm probably coming in the same level as a lot of those 6 to 10-year-olds. I would expect. So you never know. Maybe they blend into the crowd, right?
Yeah, until I actually take the field and they realize that the 6
You're
to
too fast for
10-year-olds, the
that, man.
16, no, they're just going to blow me out of the water, man. I'm going to be running down for a touchdown, instantly intercepted. I'm going to be looking like, are you sure he's 16? This guy up here? And that's how I'm going to be at something like this. But it just goes to show that there is honestly something for everyone here. Whether you're looking for Lenovo, you're looking to take part in our Dallas Cowboys camps, or looking to take part in this competition, make sure you guys follow all the socials and be able to kind of stay tuned for things like this. But this is our final game, going to be coming up shortly. And we got a little bit of a 3-horse race. If you had to bet on one of these players, who is Taco going for?
See, the tough part that I have is I've seen some really impressive stuff out of Ale King. Don't get me wrong. But in game 2, the way that Ale King was actually making the approach with the ballistic shield, where Ale King went wrong at the bottom of that porta bunker is he found himself sandwiched between 2 separate players. It didn't look as though Ale King was actually fully aware of the fact that Miles had actually started to intervene as well with that aggressive push onto Pfluger's porta bunker. So I think if anything, Ale King, they know that they're in first. We saw how successful they were in our first lobby. They got the first victory out of the day. They didn't do horribly either in game 2 by any means, but maybe just got a little bit ahead of themselves, feeling a little bit too protected by that ballistic shield. Just might have to turn it back just a little bit, like tone it back just a little bit more discipline in terms of how willing a player is to jump into a fight right away. Because again, as these zones get smaller, as the moving zones and everything come into play, you have to remember that you are not ever alone. It's no such thing as a true 1v1 when it comes to a solos tournament, Jacob. We all know everything is about timing inside of a solos format, and it can be really difficult to try and replicate a timing that gets you the ideal positioning within a reasonable time frame, so you don't find yourself getting squeezed from outside the zone by any means. But yeah, I think Ale King is right there. But unfortunately for me, Pfluger is more of a clear favorite. I just think that Pfluger has that little bit of discipline that could be the real game changer.
I like the way you said that, because on one hand, you got Ale King, who's just been consistent. He's been a little bit more consistent than Pfluger has so far, but Pfluger's actually contested this time around. The EMP shockwave grenade getting tossed right on over in Pfluger's direction. Shield's gone just like that, from overshield to the big pot he just popped. Forced to expend a lot of the porta bunkers early just to try to escape, and he's trying to cut off paths. He does have the frenzy and a reaper, so a lot of damage in seconds, and Alto on the other side. Pfluger goes down. Pfluger is down early.
That is massive here for Ale King. If Ale King has any eyes on the elimination feed right now and he sees Pfluger, oh man, heartbreaking though for Pfluger. Just did not have the shields needed to try and counteract that steep push. But those are the kinds of last-minute adaptations that you would expect to see in this kind of format, Jacob, because players, they didn't have success in games 1 or 2, but they don't want to completely rule themselves out. Well, switch up the drop. Land somewhere where someone might not have been expecting you, and Pfluger, unfortunately, meeting his demise because of it.
Just very, very unfortunate. As you turn on board Wicked. And that's the thing. Pfluger, I think, had the highest scoring game so far in game 2 with 22 points, which was the Victory Royale, and 7 eliminations along the way. If Ale King can go down now, that means it's possible for any team here in this competition to have the potential to pick up the gap. Wicked's trying to start that off here, going up against Logo Everdeen on the other side. Bunker versus Bunker. He's trying to be careful, though, because he missed the jump, trying to get bounced back, and Logo Everdeen would have an opportunity to tag some shots. He's going to go in all in for it, though, but there it goes. Wicked, with everything on the line, gets taken down by Logo Everdeen again. Great opportunity for him to bounce out on top.
I respect the effort, though. You want to take matters into your own hand, Wicked. That's one way to approach. Unfortunately, the green Frenzy Auto losing out to the blue Frenzy Auto. But more precariously still, DM16 here at Grand Glacier. You could see that Monte's Society Medallion not actually having been collected just yet. Quite a few players, though, at the Grand Glacier. So DM16 just trying to get the jump on one of them. Whoever tries to actually open the vault could be in for a pretty awful surprise, depending on how long DM16 is actually willing to invest to staying stacked in that position with the hammer pump primed and ready to go.
I mean, in theory, he does have all the time in the world. 0 builds to kind of let the zone push all the players inward. And he does have a chance. Started the game at the very minimum with 14 points. It's a 9-point deficit he has to overcome. You could either do that by outplacing Ale King by a margin, or just by simply picking up eliminations like he's done so far. Anarchist with great positioning, rotating on over, takes down the boss and gets access to the vault. Not going to be one of the most lucrative vaults that we've seen so far in the game. Those go to spots like Snooty Steps, but at least it's something to kind of get your game going here.
Yeah, Unmoored Manor is definitely a pretty solid drop if you can get it uncontested as well. And so having access to that vault down by Unmoored Manor certainly only going to open up the door to success, or at least that's what you'd have to hope for. As Ale King taking his time here now at Snooty. And I don't blame him, Jacob, because especially after knowing that Pfluger was elim so early on in this match. Realistically, all Elking has to do to solidify their position is confirm a top 5 placement, I think, would be the safety zone here for Elking. But knowing Elking, seeing what he's done so far here today, wouldn't be surprised to see him look to add a handful of eliminations on top of a placement scoring. Just every little bit counts type of mentality.
I was about to see as soon as that Porter bunker dropped. I'm trying to see what he's going to go for. A little different than some of the teams that we've seen so far, choosing the Frenzy Reaper Snipe combination. He wants the Striker and he wants to deal damage as fast as possible. And you talked about his switch up of his strategy, landing towards Snooty Steps. I do believe game 1 and game 2 so far, Snooty Steps uncontested. You got to think hammer pump. It's not the shotgun that you really go for. That's going to be the frenzy. So players might not see it as a spot to really make it a focal point, but you still get the medallion. You still get a ton of loot. And you can still find some frenzies, but DM's going to go up against NPO. And Dial Dom's going to be the only one standing here in a position just like this. And DM started this game in 14th place with 14 points. His dream of going to that VIP draft experience has just ended.
DM waited for so long for someone to finally approach the vault, and yet Dial Dom just one step ahead the whole way through. Love the fact that Dial Dom was just waiting outside of Grand Glacier, had quick access as soon as they hurtled through that window, was able to confirm an easy third-party adventure. And now Dial Dom, with access to the vault, kind of just trying to secure the area around them. They'll also be able to utilize this mod bench if they so choose. Try and soup up some of these weapons as much as possible before venturing further into zone. But again, keep in mind, still a handful of players nearby Grand Glacier. That's definitely going to be something that could pose some issues for Dial Dom, depending on how they actually choose to depart from Grand Glacier, but it's just going to be a tunnel out. Why take the chance? And with the dirt bike making them rotate all the faster, if they actually choose to take it.
Honestly, an interesting decision for Dial Dom to not grab any of the bunkers that
he was
were there.
Not interested.
Yeah, not at all. But honestly, everybody has their own playstyle, and we've seen players survive without those porta bunkers so far. But Filthy coming up close to Codigo, one of our competitors in the race, in contention. Porta bunker is going to go down, and Shockwave is going to force the disengage going on out. May not like the position he's in at this point in time, and it's not a fight that he's willing to take. A little bit too risky for his liking as he pops another Shockwave to try to close the gap. And that's why grapple blades are so important, because eventually he's going to run out of those Shockwaves, and Filthy's going to close the gap. Shock's going to continue again, but he has double mythic loot. That's another elimination for Codigo. 3 points already. Down by 2.
I'm speechless. Because you know how bad it feels, Jacob, when you're the person chasing someone and then you immediately get turned on. But hey, respect still to Codigo, turning that situation into his favor. Not even opting to pick up the grapple blade either. Keep in mind, it's just going to be all about the Shockwave still. So yeah, clearly some player preference making an impact here today is Tatlow. Spots out Everdeen. Has a hired NPC with them. And Tatlow gonna hold back. Try to see whether or not Everdeen's still situated inside that front bunker. But no, Everdeen actually trying to pan off. Switches towards the G. Tatlow, though, not willing to let this one go. Gonna give chase. Jumps inside the vehicle with Everdeen. Now they're both just going for a drive.
Yep. He didn't take me. He's just trying to at least destroy the vehicle. Everdeen's gonna get on now. The fight continues, but Tatlow is gonna be the one going down. A sliver of HP is all the difference for Logo Everdeen. A little celebration. Show us what you got. And that's gonna be a huge blunder on the side of his opponent. And that's going to be a huge amount of confidence. That could be a confidence switch for Logo Everdeen to maybe pop off here in this game.
One thing that Everdeen probably wishes, though, is that Tatlow would have at least had a med kit for that exchange. Right. Sure, you get the elimination. Sure, you get your shields back to full, but you still don't have any white heals. And without that HP, It's going to be tough if you're not able to maintain strong positioning inside the zones. Definitely can't afford to get caught out inside the storm, as Friedman seems to have missed the memo. Doesn't have a vehicle of his own, so will be forced to expend one of his porta bunkers instead. As Codigo trying to find his 4th elimination in the match, but instead chooses to keep driving by. Recognizes that with this porta bunker, Friedman not really an approachable target, not really worth exiting the vehicle for either. Friedman will find dirt bike to use for his advantage, but you are so exposed. Even if it's a fast method of transportation, the shots that Codigo is able to apply onto Friedman. Codigo, he still wants the whole piece.
Wow.
And he'll get it. Friedman getting fried by Codigo. And now, Codigo with the opening here to decide where to next.
4 eliminations. Codigo started this game with 18 points. Ale King has yet to get a single elimination. He started at 23, which means we have a 1-point game between Ale King and Codigo here in our Dallas Cowboys game time featuring Fortnite final. This is really going to separate because now we're getting into territory. Right around the corner are those placement points. And so Ale King either needs to figure out, like, hey, I got to get my great position in zone so that way those placement points come easy, or he needs to start figuring out where he's going to get those eliminations from because Codigo is hot on his heels.
And Codigo, he's just been running at the entire lobby, it seems like. But I respect the time to elimination that Codigo has spent. He's been really quick. Every time we panned over to him actually caught up in a fight, his time to elimination is so fast that you don't really see players getting the opportunity to even look for that third-party experience. So if Codigo can just maintain that pacing, he'll definitely be making a strong case for finding himself first place on that leaderboard here. Meanwhile, players like Dial Dom just wanted to cross this body of water first, get into ruined reels, get some good positioning here alongside the hills. But it's Codigo that he runs into, of all people.
Oh, what are we witnessing right now? I thought he was just going to take the car and go, but he actually chooses to challenge Codigo again, and now we have a tie game. We're tied at 23 points at the top of the leaderboard. Codigo, the chance with a takeaway to go ahead and give himself the lead. It's Cowbob on the other side. Interesting fight. Nice shot's going to be hit. Codigo leads the fight, and now he's taking the lead away from Ale King.
Codigo not going to even take any sort of chance right now. He's going to opt to just use those shield fish immediately. Has a couple of medkits at his disposal as well. A very sick loadout. And keep in mind, with that last elimination, Codigo technically having just taken the lead here. So now the ball is entirely in Ale King's court. It's going to come down to the actual placements themselves here, Jacob, because Codigo doesn't look like he has any intentions of slowing down anytime soon. He is still on the hunt, still trying to acquire as many elimination points as possible, and that's putting so much pressure here onto Ale King because he's got to get a move on. He can't hinge it solely upon getting a victory royale, because if he doesn't finish first, even if he does, at this rate, with the amount of eliminations that we've been seeing Codigo rack up here, even a victory royale might not put Ale King in a safe position for holding on to first.
Yeah, he has to figure out a way to kind of mimic the strategy he did in game 1. He picked up 3 eliminations with the VR, but this could be it for the win right here. Ale King will still need the placement point to stay alive. The first shot's gonna be fired. Codigo with a bunker, but Codigo goes down. We're back at a tie game with Ale King just needing to stay alive, and he has the chance to be our champion.
The one bush that Codigo doesn't check, that's gonna be the one that Ale King was sitting inside of. Actual nightmare situation for Codigo, but Ale King, he'll go right back to old reliable here inside the bush yet again. But now with a porta bunker next to him, Ale King, he's got his pick here between which situation he wants to actually set up his base at. And now seems as though Ale King is just content to monitor the bridge, try and shut down any players looking to rotate via the railroad tracks.
Yeah, very few players left on the leaderboard in contention, but one of them is going to be No Master. and A Miles, two different players. I do believe Nono Master was alive not too long ago. Yes, he is. He just needs the VR, and he needs to start picking up these eliminations, but it's not too far gone to where if he does exactly that, starts to find these eliminations and come out with a win, he could be the one to steal away that first place spot at the end of the day.
And you can see just east of Nono Master, current position, gliding through the air. That's going to be where Elking is currently situated. Glider going to go unscathed, which is a nice change-up. Usually when you see players floating through the air, usually means that they're going to become a pretty big focus of the lobby themselves. But instead, Nono Master finding safety inside of the zone and setting up base inside of a building. Although he's wary of those railroad tracks. Keep in mind that porta bunker, Nono Master knows that that is not a natural spawn for any porta bunkers up on the railroad tracks. And he's definitely trying to be wary of other players approaching him inside of his current building.
Diggy Tate definitely got the memo though, checking bushes, something Codigo should have done, rotating just right by the eventual first place team. And for Elking, I will say, you got to imagine this is a fourth quarter, you have the lead, just need to run the ball, run the time off the clock. Everybody else, this is where you're going to be thinking to throw passes downfield. Try to come out with some early points, and those passes downfield are going to be in the form of eliminations. As we look on this side of the minimap, 3 players currently positioned here out of 9. You can see an even spread all around the map for players, so it might not be till the next zone or maybe one after that where we start forcing a lot of the action yet again, because there's just so much on the line that players just don't want to give up just yet.
Yeah, it really just depends on how some of these teams that are more towards the north side of the zone, but zone has pulled south, pulling a little bit more favorably towards those players that we saw situated at the other windmill. And the teams, or excuse me, the solos here at Lavish Lair, recognizing the fact they're not going to be able to stay inside the safety of the buildings. Instead, they're going to have to push down south. Anarchist.
Scary.
Now, this is intimidating because there's just 2 big buildings here at the other windmill, and Anarchist knows there's got to be at least 1, if not more, players trying to situate themselves inside of these buildings.
That, and then you know the fact that there's only 9 players left alive, right? So they're not going to be in the typical spots in which you would see in a normal zero build style. Ball damage. Scared me there for a moment. I thought he was going to go off the side of the mountain.
I thought it was going to get so much worse.
It just makes those rotations a little bit scarier, though, to where you just don't know where a lot of the players are positioned versus seeing players boxed up, seeing bunkers all around, even seeing shockwaves or grapple blades to kind of spot them out. With very, very little information kind of given around the map, you see Elking not even moving since when he got that last elimination. It just kind of makes it a little bit more frightening for players rotating in, and now they're rotating in the direction of Elking, some in cars and some not.
And for the ones that aren't in vehicles, those are going to be the ones that are probably a little bit more cautious as to whether or not they actually try to rotate from the top side. Because, yeah, the railroad tracks, they definitely can provide a little bit of elevation, a nice overhead sighting of where the other competitors might be at. But Elking, this could be trouble for Noah Bomb. Elking does have a pretty direct line of sight once they go to the top of their porta bunker. If they choose to look up, as Noah Bomb tries to make a rotation, they might not actually make it into the safety of zone. And Elking, you can see that paranoia when it comes to the bushes. And for good reason. Keep in mind, he's only in this prime position because of having sat in a bush and piecing up Codigo earlier on.
Has to be careful, though. 7 of the 9 players still left alive are going to be on the north side of the map. Some in zone already, like you see Logo Everdeen and Diggy Tate trying to position that. They know somebody's there, and they're just trying to break down the porta bunkers to try to give themselves early line of sight. I think Diggy's going to have a little bit of an advantage there, but Logo Everdeen not really wanting to give up. Diggy peeking and choosing when he tries to shoot those shots. Doesn't find any success. Forced to use his last porta bunker. I would say luckily for him, though, he is already in the center of the zone, so not too much to worry about in that regard.
But Everdeen now that they're aware of where Diggy Tate is at, it's going to come down to Everdeen making the decision. Do I push now? Do I make the ultra aggressive play? Because if Everdeen can take out Diggy, find a solid elimination. Granted, Diggy doesn't have any heals, so this could just be Everdeen waiting things out, but Everdeen also doesn't have any heals. No way to replenish shield or further white HP loss, and that could be part of the reason why we see this hesitation between Diggy and Everdeen. But if both of these players keep waiting, a third party might just enter the conversation, and that third party could be It's Killing Time. We don't know Killing Time's loadout, but have to expect that if it's not in a similar circumstance to that of Diggy, now heals plenty. Not a whole lot of Flowberry Fizz here, but It's Killing Time is literally just killing time right now in the vehicle as the zone continues to close.
Oh, he runs into No-No, though. Shields, the overshield, at least is going to get gone just like that. But sheer insanity with the headshot as No-No forces It's Killing Time into the waters. He tries to escape the car, and sheer insanity completely takes over. And you got to realize what these guys are fighting for here. The winner take all, the VIP draft experience, hotel and transportation paid for. That could be them in the crowd right now experiencing all of that. All they have to do is take down Ale King and take the game. Or if you're Ale King, just stay alive. Just win the game. That's all you need to do.
The ultimate prize for you and a very special loved one or friend, given that it is a VIP draft party experience for two, Jacob. That is certainly a big part of the reason why we see our competitors coming to a bit of a halt here. Business turret, actually, at the top of this hill. Ale King going to find his overshield being challenged. That's actually going to prompt him to dispose of one of these porta bunkers as well. And now Ale King kind of in a tough spot. But they are in zone. That's the main takeaway here for me, Jacob. And Ale King gonna even opt to get to a better position, more central towards this next zone. And with their back no longer being exposed, it's just one player off west. No-No Master trying to make the rotation. No-No Master with the takeout, the headshot. That's gonna be wraps.
This could be it. Perfect scenario. You could not have scripted something like this. No-No is one of the only players left in the lobby that can win this thing. With him taking out Ale King, pumping of placements, Ale King got nothing other than that one elimination. Final two players remaining, Taco. No, he needs the elimination, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough. It's going to be all up to this.
No is actually waiting it out. You can see he doesn't want to compromise his current situation, but No Master doesn't have a grapple blade. He can't close the distance all that rapidly. He's going to keep this at a range fight, and for good reason. When you're able to make shots like what we just saw from No Master out of this Reaper Sniper, No Master looking to try and run it back, but he's got to get a move on. He's got to get the zone. Diggy Tate not going to give his head just yet. No Master goes one more time, one more shot, but he's got to push in. The zone's on his backside. No Master sees Diggy Tate looking for the peek, but No Master just trying to get close. He has the Mickey Frenzy.
Oh no, Diggy Tate over the top. The gold hammer pump. Diggy takes down No Master. He doesn't get the full 15 points for the VR. I'm not sure he has enough to be able to take down Ale King. It is a 5-point differential. I'm trying to do the quick math. Taco, forgive me here. I just don't know who won.
Well, you have to keep in mind, second place is still 10 points, Jacob. So 10 points plus the eliminations, but the math is hard to come by, Jacob. I think it's really just going to hinge on a down-to-the-wire situation yet again here. But
wow,
that's still just such an absurd finish.
Literally from the start of the game to the finish that you're talking about. Pfluger going down early. Somebody we were watching at. Codigo lighting up the elimination feed. At one point or another throughout the course of that game, he had first place taking it away, but he didn't check. One of the only positions, the only bush he didn't check. He goes down. Ale King takes first place back. He goes down before placement points come in. I don't know who wrote the script, but they wrote it for max excitement.
And Codigo as well just had, you could just feel the momentum just building off of every single elimination that Codigo was picking up. But these final moments for Codigo before their run was cut short by none other than Ale King. And again, Ale King as well, another player where, in this kind of last minute circumstance, Jacob, don't think that Ale King had any expectation for Nono Master to actually connect with that Reaper sniper shot. But that's part of the reason, part of the beauty behind zero builds is that if you opt to go for those aggressive peaks, for those aggressive instances, you never know when the situation might get turned on you because of that overextending on the peak.
I would say this, no matter what happens with the shot that he hit at the end, the fans that he had in the chat, I just want to say, no, you are the people's champ here today. You went ahead and stole the show. You had everybody rooting for him and really tried to make a play at the end. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. You said it while it was happening. He had to cross the open water. He had to dive, which made it to where he wasn't really able to trade off the shots to continue to whittle down the shield and kind of make his opponent second guess peeking when he did. And just unfortunately, because of that, just all over for Nono. And Riley go do the calculations behind the scene to see the leaderboard because he did start with 10 points already. He got a minimum of about 10 throughout the course of that game. Who knows? So it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out.
But even with Diggy Tate there at the very end, because Diggy Tate found that Victor Royale, Jacob, it almost makes me wonder if Diggy Tate could have been a surprise last-minute bamboozle into the leaderboard, because you never know just how far those 15 points plus whatever eliminations didn't actually get a chance to see how many elims Diggy Tate had in the final moments there. But the fact that he was the last man standing, that could be one of the primary things. But we don't have to wait any longer, Jacob, because fortunately for us, the leaderboard is here, and it's done all the math for us.
Let's see who won. Ale King, a tie with Codigo. That means it went down to a tiebreaker scenario for who takes it all. And the tiebreaker went down. Total points scored. That was a tie. Total victory royales. That was a tie. So it probably went down to average eliminations in the session, which went down to Ale King, I do believe. Might have been the final end. I'm checking all the scores here. Try to see 7 eliminations for Codigo.
May have also been an
one.
average placements.
Yeah.
The average placements, I believe, would also be more in favor of Ale King in comparison to Codigo, especially if you factor in just games 2 and 3. And game 1 as well, I guess, considering that Ale King did win our first lobby of the day here. But, man, what a showing, though, from Codigo. Nonetheless, it really just is the most clear way to kind of indicate just how impactful every single one of these eliminations could truly be, though, because a lot of the points that we are seeing racked up here for Codigo were on the back of those eliminations that he was able to acquire.
Yeah, and she was able to really just stay alive, just kind of looking at throughout the course of some of those games. He had a second place in game 1. Unfortunately, really not able to get the placement points in that top 5 for games 2 and 3. So it just goes to show if you don't have that right balance of eliminations with the placement, it's really going to cost you. And Ale King, the most consistent player throughout the day, multiple top 10 finishes, multiple opportunities at eliminations. He is our winner, and he won our VIP draft experience for 2. And I got to go ahead and make sure to send him a friend request, maybe follow him on Twitter, something like that, because I want to go with him to that draft experience.
I don't know if we're going to really be that lucky, Jacob. Let me know if he gets back to you. But for sure, a massive congratulations to Ale King. He's going to have plenty of people in his messages, I feel like, asking him, hey, do you still need a +1 for that draft party VIP experience? But it is incredible to think about the fact that he's going to get to spend an awesome day, awesome trip in general here at the Ford Center, hanging out with the Dallas Cowboys, hanging out with other fans as well of the Dallas Cowboys. And it's just going to be an awesome time. And it's even better still because you know that you won the experience. You get everything covered as far as your flights and your hotel are concerned.
Yeah, I like the way you kind of said that at the very. You won the experience. This is huge bragging rights. You can call yourself the best in a competition like this, and then you kind of have an experience. It's not just a trophy that's going to sit on the back of your shelf, and maybe Celeste does. This is an experience that you're going to be able to remember for the rest of your lives. And then obviously that special person you get to take with you, whether it's your dad, your mom, your brother, your cousin, it's going to be a huge treat for them. And honestly, you're going to be at the top of their list of people to thank when Thanksgiving comes around.
Yeah, so one more time, just huge shout out to Lenovo for not only making such awesome equipment, such awesome peripherals, putting on this great game time tournament format alongside the Dallas Cowboys, because it's not easy getting everything set and sorted by any means. There's so much that goes into the back end of things. So definitely huge shouts to production team as well. But Lenovo for being one of the sponsors and making smarter technology for all. And who knows, maybe for Ale King, he'll be able to pick up some Lenovo equipment while he's down there at the Ford Center.
Yeah, hopefully he can't get his hands on that Lenovo Go. You saw how sweet that looked. Maybe he could play some Fortnite on that, depending on if he's a controller player or not. He could definitely get some games in, but just the way it happened, a first place, a fifth place, a sixth place, consistency for Ale King. And I think the biggest thing for him, and might be able to kind of talk to him here in a moment, has to have been that patience, because how long, whether you're hiding in a bush, waiting for the next zone, trying to hunt somebody down, you know how patient you need to be in every situation like this, because you saw him as soon as he got that elimination on Codigo, he just positioned himself in that porta bunker, didn't move for 3, 4, maybe even 5 zones until he had to.
I'd say, if anything, it'd almost be more nerve-wracking as Ale King prior to getting that elimination onto Codigo, because all Ale King is doing, he's waiting things out, right? He knows he's got a really strong position. He doesn't want to compromise where he was situated at on top of the railroad tracks over by other windmill. But at the same time, you see the elimination feed lighting up. It's just Codigo, another elimination. Codigo has now eliminated another player. And I would definitely expect that to be a little bit of a mental game with yourself, especially if you're in Ale King's position. You know that you are at least leading in first place heading into the final match of the day. But when you see your direct competitors racking up all those eliminations, for him to still maintain his cool, for him to not let that intervene with his mentality as he played out this final lobby, that is certainly a very strong mental fortitude. And it does take a lot to not panic in that kind of situation and to not try and get overly aggressive with the eliminations either.
Yeah, and you kind of add in the fact that this was 3 games. This wasn't 5. This wasn't 6. This wasn't 12 games over 2 days. This was 3 games. So every single time you dropped onto the island, you really had to make it count. And even though in that 3rd game he went down in 6, only 1 elimination, that was the elimination that mattered. Because you got to imagine, even if Codigo still goes down to somebody else around the map, Ale King wasn't able to find elimination elsewhere. He went down when he was trying to tag up No on the backside of the zone to the sniper. That means Codigo would have won by getting aggressive in terms of eliminations. He had 7 in game 1, 1 in game 2, 6 in game 3. So even then, he just needed 1 more elimination. And we've been talking about a whole different player coming out on top, and he was aggressive from the start to the finish in that 3rd and final game. You saw multiple mythics, multiple medallions dropping out of the loot as Ale King got the elimination there.
Yeah, definitely tough circumstances from Codigo's point of view, but as far as everyone else here today is concerned, I think that they're all just ready to congratulate Ale King essentially on finding himself not only the Victory Royale in game 1, but also technically the Victory Royale competitor of this entire tournament, Jacob, since he was first on that leaderboard.
Yeah, it's only a decision that he has to make now, and it's going to be a tough one. Who he brings with him? Is it your mom? Is it your dad? I know how I'd bring Ruth, you know, as well as that. So interesting there.
What happened to your brother?
Made. You know what? I know who I'm bringing. No, I'm just kidding. I just forgot about him instantly just like that. But it just goes to show that, man, you could do great things in Fortnite. You could have a ton of fun. You could enter a competition with the Dallas Cowboys featuring Fortnite, and you could win. You could win it all. A draft party experience for 2. Last time was a Super Bowl experience. I just can only imagine what's next. Is there going to be a Dallas Cowboys Game Time Fortnite Tournament 3? What type of prizes? I feel like you're going to be on the team next. You're going to be on the team.
That would be sick. Don't get me wrong. And again, I really could not be happier for Ale King finding himself the winner of this grand prize. It's certainly a very excellent way to kind of round off your tournament experience. But for everyone else that didn't win, or for anybody else that is interested, keep in mind that you can still register now for the 2024 Dallas Cowboys youth camps, and they are presented by Invisalign. So athletes of all different skill levels, ages 6 to 16, are more than welcome. They're invited to learn from the best of this summer at the Ford Center, because it's all coming down to you get to pick up some intel from stars in Frisco, man. I mean, these football camps, they're led by former NFL players, and you even got dance camps that are being taught by the current Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. So best of both worlds. If you don't want to take your odds with the football side of things, maybe learn some new dance moves thanks to those Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, just make sure that you get your registration in before May 17th, because that way you'll be saving an additional $25. So get yourself a nice little lunch or dinner after spending the day inside the youth camp. You never know. I mean, I think only adventure awaits. Just visit DallasCowboys.com/camps if you want to learn more.
I like the way you said that. Save that leftover for dinner. That's how I always think about my savings. You know what I mean? I save $5. No, I save myself a nice chicken sandwich for later. But let's go ahead and congratulate Ale King one more time. But we actually have an interview with Ale King as well. Let's go ahead and get him in here so we can go ahead and ask him the important questions about who he's going to bring with him to that draft experience. Okay. Oh, excuse me there. He's a little bit of a misstep. He's trying to get him in here. We're trying to pick his brains. So if you guys have any questions for Ale King yourself, go ahead and throw them in chat. Me and Taco will be checking that one out. But, I want to go ahead and give credit. Codigo, a nice runner-up, put on a great performance. Pfluger, that game 2 really propped him up, pushed him all the way up to the top side of the leaderboards. Unfortunately, he was contested in that game 3. But No Master, the guy that I think stole the show in terms of the chat. So huge credit goes to him.
Yeah, what's also really surprising to me now as well, thinking about Pfluger's run, is that game 1, his run was cut short. Game 3, his run was cut short. And yet he still found himself in that third place position off the back of just one really great in-game performance there in lobby number 2, Jacob. Just unfortunate that he wasn't able to string it together for all 3 of these lobbies here today. But hey, somebody's got to fall short so somebody else can prosper. And you got to keep in mind, we've got our victor, Ale King, to really congratulate for managing to hold strong throughout the course of today.
Yeah, and you kind of take a look, the same thing I think kind of happened to a lot of our competitors. Ale King was able to push through just a little bit better, but he went down in 6. He was only to get 1 point in game 3. He got the placement points alone in game 2, with the majority of his points coming in that victory royale in game 1. So you got to give him credit to being able to stay consistent, being able to stay. And as well as I do, it being 3 games instead of the 5, that does something to you mentally when you start to slip down that slope, you start to fall down that leaderboard, knowing that I don't have as many chances to really make up that point deficit if it comes to it. So being able to stay mentally strong is a huge aspect that I think kind of gets underlooked sometimes due to the type of mechanics and skill that's needed to play a game like Fortnite.
Without a doubt. And the same case as well, even if you are having success throughout the course of 1 or 2 lobbies, when it comes down to that final lobby, like I said, Ale King knew he was the leader over the entire lobby heading into our final match of the day. All he wanted to do was try and replicate his recipe for success. He did it in game 1. He did it in game 2. All he wanted was to ensure that that placement stayed towards the top end of things. And granted, it's not necessarily a guaranteed thing either. As far as Ale King is concerned, he postured entirely for placement in a lot of these endgame moments, and it made a really big impact at the end of the day here, as you can see, since he is our winner of the Game Time tournament here.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody else here, from 2nd to 8th to even at the bottom of the leaderboard, realize you got to give yourself a huge pat on the back, being able to compete in a competition like this, especially being watched by so many players, competing against zero build aficionados all around. Like I mentioned, Wicked, our former champion Hazi, even though those guys didn't perform well, they're still some of the best when it comes to Fortnite zero build. And you got Ale King coming out on top. You got No Master still pulling out some
Hello?
big moments throughout the course of that game.
Yeah, but we've also got Ale King actually on the line with us here now. So, first of all, Ale King, massive congratulations. If you haven't heard us talking it up this entire time so far. And so, the first thing, I'm going to steal Jacob's question and ask you instead. But who are you actually planning on taking with you on this VIP draft party experience?
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
okay. Yes, I'm sorry. It's because this is very weird. I've never used this like app that they sent me. So yeah, so I will be. I'm still deciding, but I will be taking my high school friend. I've been friends with them for almost I don't know like 6, 7 years already. We're big Cowboys fans. We go to the stadium twice a year. We're a little heartbroken from this past playoffs, but maybe my best friend or my dad, which is also a big football fan, not a Cowboys fan though, so that might be why I would make the decision. But yeah.
Hey, maybe you showing up to the draft experience might be what they need to make a deeper run in the playoffs and not go down to the Packers this time, especially with a phenomenal season by the Cowboys. And I think you kind of mimic that here in this competition. So my question for you is, in that last game, Codigo not only caught up to you, being, I think, in fourth place to go in, but he took the lead at one point or another. You were the person to eliminate him. Did you know it at that point in time? And then how did that change your game plan if you did?
Honestly, I thought that when I killed him, that he wasn't a threat anymore. But yeah, when I went down, I knew I should have not peeked that the way I did. So yeah, that was very bad of me. So I didn't think I won 100% because I didn't know what other players were in the lobby. But I knew I had a chance at least because I went a little far, and I was already in first place going into last game. So yeah.
Yeah, I like his. He's so you're so well spoken, especially after a high intense moment like this. How did it feel going throughout these three games as a whole? Was there nervousness? Were you anxious at all? Was confidence always at an all time high? What was going through your mind?
Trust me, I am never nervous in Fortnite. I'm just something that I am not. I feel like I'm very good at controlling my nerves, but this time something else was on the line. It wasn't a zero build cup or a cash cup or anything like that. It was something that I really, like I said, I'm a big Cowboys fan, so I knew it was on the line. But yeah, I was shaking the last game. I'm not gonna lie.
Shaking the last
it.
game, man.
Yeah.
That is, it just is a clear sign of how much intensity actually goes into those final moments. And you just said, I knew I shouldn't have peaked when I did. But then I have to ask you, what made you decide to peak in that moment?
He was back zone. He didn't have any bunkers or mobility. I really thought it was a free kill, but I missed all my shots. Like I never my AR aim is, you know, pretty up there. But that time I didn't hit a shot. He had a sniper. He got me on that. Yeah.
Seeing it
Yeah,
one more time.
that's
Gotta
one
hit
of the
the
lowlights that I
replay.
will never want to see again.
Yeah,
But.
I think this
Yeah.
season we've all felt that once
Yeah.
or twice
Yeah.
already.
Technically,
Too many
his winning
times.
moment, though, if you think about it.
Yeah.
True, you're winning moment there. So right there, you go down. You watch the rest of the game out. The leaderboard pops up. You're in first place. Now walk me through. As soon as you see your name on the leaderboard, who do you tell? Are you dancing? Are you celebrating? What are the emotions like as soon as you see your name?
Right after I died, I was mad. A little death slam probably. I was just out the top five, which is they changed the format mid tournament, which was a little weird, but yeah. So I died out of the top five, which was a replacement.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was a little mad, a little death slam. But then, I did celebrate it. I'm not gonna lie. I told my mom, which was the only one that was here at the house currently. So yeah, that's what I did after, the after the reveal. that I actually won.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, got any shout outs? This is your chance right now. Everybody's watching. You're now everybody's favorite person in the world because you got that extra ticket. Where do people find you? Where can we watch? Where can we figure out what's next for Ale King? Sorry, excuse me there.
Well, I just want to shout out, my Discord, which we've been practicing a lot this past 2 seasons. Hunky Cat and Noisy and Tony FB. They're very good friends of mine. But yeah, I mean, you can find me in Alec YT and Twitter, and I don't really post that much, but that's where you can find me.
I think it's time to start posting, and you can start with a huge victory lap and maybe your experience at the draft. So go ahead and give yourself a huge round pat on the back. Go ahead and celebrate once more. You deserve to really feel the win that you've just gotten. And that is it from Ale King and Taco. It has been just an amazing experience because back-to-back times at our Dallas Cowboys game time featuring Fortnite, we have a Dallas Cowboys fan winning.
Look, I already liked Ale King just based off of the gameplay alone. Not because he came first, but what I love the most in that interview is that he's still showing love to the homies, giving a huge shout out to the players in his Discord, that friends that I'm sure helped him train for today's events, because he talked about it. He's like, look, I'm never nervous for anything, man, but today there was something different. I mean, when the shaky aim starts coming out, Jacob, you know that the nerves are definitely riding high here. So just a huge congratulations one more time to Ale King. So happy for him that he managed to find himself a VIP draft party experience courtesy of the Dallas Cowboys. And again, a huge sponsor coming through from Lenovo. Just can't say thank you enough. I mean, you already know the deal. Lenovo, they make smarter technology for all. And I mean, the smartest call yet, syncing up here with the Dallas Cowboys to provide such an awesome experience to a lucky fan in Ale King.
Yeah, and you guys go ahead and give a huge shout out because one more time, register now for the 2024 Dallas Cowboys U Camp presented by Invisalign. Athletes of all skill are invited, ages 6 to 16, from the best this summer at Ford Center at the Star in Frisco. The football camp is going to be coached by former NFL stars. Our dance camp is going to be coached by the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. And if you guys want a deal, make sure you guys sign up before May 17th to save $25 on your registration. Go to dallascowboys.com/camp. And thank you guys again. It's been a huge treat being able to put on a fantastic show like this, Taco. And honestly, I couldn't have chosen a better person to do it all with.
No, I'm so happy we got to run this one down, Jacob. I mean, what better way to close things out than knowing that we're going to send a fan off to a huge VIP draft party experience. And not only that, but production team, you guys have been awesome. Observational team as well. Appreciate the work that you guys do. So thank you all so much for helping us bring the story to life.
Yep, and that's going to do it from us, Lenovo, Dallas Cowboys, our production team, our beautiful observers, and of course, you guys at home. We'll see you guys next time on that battle bus. Beep, beep.
Hey.
Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now.